I don't play with lions. I don't play with those. I don't even do roller coasters. Wow.
Well, hello.
Turks, Cenk Uygur and Kasparian with you guys. Here we are, maybe, just maybe, on the verge of peace. Man, are the Israelis livid about it. Oh, they are so mad. We have a whole host of clips for you guys tonight where Israel's supporters, Israel's assets, whatever you want to call them, are demanding literally more American casualties, higher gas prices, and they say you owe it to Israel. And if you don't give it to Israel, you'll all be, whatever, called anti-Semites, whatever, all the usual bag of tricks that they do. But what's most amazing, and we're gonna tackle it in the first story, is has Trump flipped on him? I mean, here we are, wow. So let's get started. Let's go dive right into it.
Right, Cenk.
I'm not happy with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. Without the United States, there would be no Israel. Israel would have been blown up a long time ago had I not gotten involved. Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long, and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody.
Damn, political shots fired from Donald Trump against Israel. And that's not all. We have a lot more clips where he takes on Israel. And Israel now has firing back through all of their assets in America. So we've got a doozy of a situation on our hands as Trump has now turned around, seemingly for now, is arguing in favor of peace. And obviously the Israelis are livid about it. So Anna, tell us all about it.
Well, Cenk, what's important to keep in mind, and this context really does matter, is that Trump had some harsh words for Israel as he was sitting alongside the Qatari emir at the G7 summit in France. And we know how Israel feels about Qatar. So with that in mind, I want to go to this next clip where Trump seems to say some pretty complimentary things about the IRGC. Take a look.
You talk about regime change. I never cared about regime change. It's never a part, but I guess you have regime change because you know better than anybody. The first group, they're all dead. The second group, they're dead. A part of the third group is gone. And we're dealing with people that I think are very rational people. I mean, they were nice to deal with. They were strong people, smart people. I think actually they're smarter than the first and second group. But they're not radicalized, and they're, looking to help their country. So again, I don't believe the regime change. I've watched regime changes for years; they never work.
Sounding a lot like Donald Trump circa 2016, when he would rail against the former Bush administration's regime change wars in the Middle East. Now, look, I still have this cynical perspective on what's going on. I don't trust the Trump administration, and I am worried that a lot of this is kabuki theater. But just consider the words that Trump used to describe the IRGC in that short clip that we showed you. He referred to the IRGC as smart, as rational, as strong. And even if in the end, Trump is tricking us yet again and peace will not prevail, at least we have a little bit of a gift here in that we can watch the simultaneous meltdowns of the Israel Firsters here in the United States and the Zionists in Israel who have completely turned on Trump because he dares to pursue peace in the Middle East. Cenk.
Yeah, look, these are shocking words coming from a president who until now has just been totally kowtowing to whatever Israel wanted. So there's a bunch of things in there that isn't exactly right. we're not better off now than before the war. It's not like Iran was about to build a nuclear weapon and wipe out Israel, and Israel wouldn't exist without Trump. Those things aren't true, right? And that's the usual flamboyant Donald Trump statements. But there's no question that he's saying, okay, we've had enough of this war and we're done with it. And in this memorandum of understanding, which is now leaked, we know that yes, Iran will get the sanctions relief that they're looking for. They will get apparently about $300 billion, not from us, but from the Gulf countries. But they promised to not have a nuclear weapons program. Now, you and I know, if you're in the audience and you've seen this movie throughout the entire process, that they already had a fatwa to never have a nuclear weapon. They had already promised that several different times over. But right now, we're not concerned about what it was before the war. We're concerned about ending the war, in my opinion, and getting to peace. And so the fact that Trump is headed in that direction, and the fact that the Israelis are so mad, and the fact that he's saying on tape, look, the Israelis are not doing the right thing here, and they've got to get back to sanity, and we've got to end this war, is all terrific developments given where we were just a couple of days ago. So this is not the time for, hey, should we have gone into the war? Well, that's easy, and we'll get back into that later. And this is the time to be kind of amazed that Trump is not listening to the Israelis. And Anna, this doesn't look like a trick to me. So I know a way that Israel can drag us back into the war, and I'm very worried that that's gonna happen. And I think that they
will.
Yeah, and they're certainly gonna try. There's no question about that. There's no way that Israel goes quietly into that good night. No, they are gonna say that, oh my God, Hezbollah is attacking us. Whether that's true or not true, it doesn't matter. They're gonna start bombing Lebanon over and over. They're not gonna leave Lebanon, they already said it. And they're gonna try to ruin this peace deal. So
they're gonna do what they do. This is what they do. This is what Israel is. This is what Israel does. Israel believes that the American people should pay for and die on behalf of Israel's endless wars in the Middle East, where they pretend to be the victims, even though they're the ones who consistently try to steal land, expand their borders, and they slaughter innocent civilians because they literally fail to see any human being who isn't a Zionist. Forget Jews, they don't even care about Jews. They only care about Zionists and the Zionist project. Anyone in their way, they're good for slaughter. Okay, yeah. That's what the Israelis believe.
No, Anna, that's totally clear for any rational person looking at what's happened. But if Trump actually does it and he flips over and now says, no, we're definitely leaving and we're gonna go for peace, and if Israel continues the war, well, now they've got no leg to stand on. So who's their domestic audience in America? They've lost the left entirely. They already lost the anti-war right. They already lost independence. And now if they lose whatever is remaining of MAGA, because Trump flips over, I mean, all they have left is the neocons, a bunch of crooked politicians that everybody despises, and national media that is totally discredited. And is the national media going to push for more war subtly? Will that get the job done? I don't think so. And so at this point, the key is, does Trump stay in this position? He's an enormous flip-flopper, right? If he stays in this position, then we're in outstanding shape to get the peace and to even begin to extract ourselves from the oppressive rule and occupation that we've lived under for so long with Israel controlling our politicians here.
This is what I think is most likely to happen. The math involved in this disastrous war for the United States was just undeniable, okay? Iran maintains a pretty significant arsenal of ballistic missiles. Iran was willing to withstand the pain of getting struck again and again and again by 2,000-pound American bombs. And they saw this as a fight for their survival, which is why, their goal here was very simple compared to the United States, which had shifting goals, changing goals, and Trump really clearly didn't really have his heart into it. But he was persuaded by the Israelis that it would be simple, so he goes for it. What I think is likely going to happen is Trump knows that we are quickly running out of our strategic petroleum reserve. Trump knows that the global economy, which means the US economy as well, is going to suffer tremendously. And yeah, it's gonna hurt the Republican Party politically, but I don't think he even cares about that much. Trump only cares about one thing, and that's himself, meaning he's concerned about his legacy and he's concerned about leaving the White House as a deeply unpopular president who destroyed the global economy at the behest of a foreign country. So what I'm worried about here, Cenk, is that he's gonna engage in this kabuki theater. They're gonna open the Strait of Hormuz, increase the flow of oil and natural gas through the Strait of Hormuz since it's been open and the blockade has been lifted, and then probably get back into it. That is my prediction, and it has to do with the fact that in every case where we thought there might be peace on the horizon, Trump has reneged. And I really don't have much faith in him in any way when it comes to this ongoing war in the Middle East, but we'll see what happens. What I did find interesting though is in the same press conference, he touched on the issue of Iran's enriched uranium and whether or not it's important for the United States to go in and retrieve it. Take a look.
My second term, we sent in the B-2 bombers and we terminated their, I call it the nuclear dust, their enriched material, right? And totally effectively. So the Atomic Energy just reported that it was one of the most devastating bombings that they've ever seen. The whole mountain collapsed on top of it. And frankly, to go get it, we're gonna go get it. But to go get it is a big deal. Because they say only China and us have the equipment where you can even get. The whole mountain is collapsed on top. We have cameras on it. You could make the case why you're even bothering, because it's not really valuable. It's it's probably $500,000 worth. It's not very valuable stuff, but I think psychologically we want to get it.
Okay, so just let me get this straight. But first of all, let's acknowledge he's kind of trying to pour cold water on the notion that it's incredibly critical and important to retrieve Iran's enriched uranium. Now, we know that Iran isn't stupid and unsophisticated enough to keep all of their enriched uranium in one place, but he seems to imply that that's what he thinks. He then goes on to say that the entire mountain collapsed on the facility where the enriched uranium is stored, and only the United States and China have the equipment necessary to retrieve it, meaning that Iran doesn't have the capability to do it. Nonetheless, we're gonna go in and get it anyway. Okay, back to you, Jake.
Yeah, so look, it's an absurd proposition, but it's a fascinating turnaround too. That he's like, oh, okay, now it's not that important. Well, that's absurd. You told us we were going into this war because it was so important. You barely even stated a second objective other than getting their nuclear enriched materials out. Now you're like, it's just some dust, no big deal, we don't need it. Then why do we go into the war? Okay, but that's okay, guys. Right now, from my perspective, get the peace, get the peace. So if Trump is flipped around and is now saying the exact opposite of what he was saying before, good, great, amazing, take the win. So now apparently it's not that important. And by the way, that position is correct. They were never going to try to get a nuclear weapon. That wasn't the case. And so the fact that we're not obsessed about it anymore. Remember, Netanyahu said, they're weeks from getting a nuclear weapon for the last 30 years. It's always been a lie. Now, Trump has come to that position incredibly belatedly. I'm thrilled about it. Now, to Anna's point, is he gonna stay on that position? Who knows? He changes his mind and what he says every single day. So it's so hard to tell. But right now, Anna, one of the things that's happening is the neocons are digging in and they're attacking Trump, and to a much larger degree, as we'll talk about later in the show, they're attacking Vance. And the more they dig in, the more they're going to accidentally trigger Trump to join Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and everyone else. Oh, you guys are now saying I'm the worst when a minute ago you were saying I'm the best. Well, then I'll stay in my position even more, which is normally Trump's instinct. So I think that they're handling it wrong. And every time Trump says something positive, like the enriched material is not that important and we already buried it under that rubble, which is true, then the neocons attack even more fervently. He digs in further on the right side. So all of these developments, whether they stick is a different question, but for today are enormously positive.
We'll see how this all plays out. But I will agree with you entirely that Zionists have mastered the craft, the art, if you will, of pushing their supporters away through their own behavior, right? Because if you're not with them 100%, if you're not willing to literally choke on their genitals, then they'll turn on you immediately. Over the first sign, the first inkling that you might not be in line with anything and everything they want, which is why they push people away. They make people even more curious about, hey, wait a minute, hold on. I've just kind of bought the Zionist propaganda my entire life. Let me consider what the other side is saying. And when people start to dig deeper, they understand the toxicity of our alliance with a country that sees our citizens as cattle or as ATM machines to either fight their wars or to pay for their military weaponry for them to carry out unspeakable atrocities in the Middle East. Now, I want to move on to the next portion of the conversation here because something pretty insane came up, and that was the topic of who should be fighting Hezbollah. So let me set this up for you. So during President Trump's press conference with Qatari Emir at the G7 summit in France, he actually criticized Israel's operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon and even suggested that a different group go after these resistance fighters in southern Lebanon. Let's take a look at who he suggests.
I was very responsible for Syria, and the man that's running Syria now is a person that I put there along with President Erdogan and some others. He's done an amazing job of pulling it together. He's not a Boy Scout, but he's done an amazing job of pulling it together. And he is very good with Hezbollah, does not like them. And I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it. And I didn't like Syria. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It wasn't like in the southern side, and it was in Beirut. I did not like that.
So in the tail end of that video, President Trump is referencing Israel's attacks against Beirut this past weekend in an effort to sabotage the MOU, which luckily was a failed attempt. But nonetheless, what Trump is saying here, Cenk, a few things. He is confessing that he, along with Erdogan in Turkey, installed Ahmed al-Shara, who is the current leader of Syria, a former leader of Al-Qaeda, and he's suggesting that they would be better suited to fight Hezbollah in Lebanon. But the fact of the matter is, al-Shara and Syria in general has actually been benefiting from Hezbollah essentially keeping the IDF busy. And to make that point is drop site reporter Murtaza Hussein. Here's what he has to say about it.
You mentioned too, Hezbollah right now is doing something for the current Syrian government just by default, which it also did for the previous Syrian government, which, as you mentioned, was very different. It's tying down Israel and actually deterring Israel from being able to move against Damascus or focus its military attention on Syria at the moment. The previous Assad government relied on Hezbollah to play that role, and Hezbollah is doing that at the moment right now too. Israel is currently attacking southern Syria on a regular basis. They have a de facto occupation now in southern Syria, which we wrote about, confiscating homes and demolishing them and so forth, which really began with the previous government collapsing. Hezbollah is tying them down. They're the ones fighting Israel at the moment. And as long as that's going on, Israel cannot pivot to attacking the current Syrian government or escalating its campaign in Syria or devoting more resources to the occupation of southern Syria. So it's a benefit in itself from that.
It's amazing. I mean, can you name a single country in the Middle East that Israel hasn't bombed or hasn't terrorized? I mean, they have a campaign in Syria, a campaign in Lebanon, a campaign in the West Bank, a campaign in Gaza. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But back over to you, Cenk. What do you think?
And of course, Iran. So look, I'm super encouraged by what Donald Trump is saying here. Again, grain of salt. I know he could change at any moment, but number one, he's showing true independence from Israel by saying that Israel bombing Beirut was wrong. They shouldn't have done it. He's minimizing Hezbollah. In an earlier clip we showed you in the show, He was talking about how the Iranians are not weirdos, savages, and radicals. They're normal people that you can have a conversation with. That goes against all of American propaganda my whole life, which is of course Israeli propaganda, that Iranians are irrational beasts, animals, savages. You can't reason with them, they'll nuke all of us, right? American media has been working on behalf of Israel to brainwash the American people with that propaganda my whole life. Now Trump is saying, no, that's not true. And every time Trump says something that is critical of Israel on tape like we just showed you, well, the neocons attack and MAGA digs in and goes, no, Trump is right. And now we've opened up a conversation. And by the way, like in the real world that is online media, we show you actual tapes of what the Israelis actually say, what they do. And a lot of you are aware of exactly who the bad guys are and all the abuses that Israel has done. But remember, in the Washington world and in the older world, the different planet that exists inside this country, Israel is still a beloved little cute angel who's defending itself from the savage, bleeding at the mouth Muslims who are about to kill them all, right? So when Trump says that's not true, that's the first time that a lot of his voters and a lot of Americans have heard that. I know that sounds unbelievable to anyone who has turned on a computer, right? But those people don't know it at all. And they're like, wait, is it true that the Iranians and Hezbollah might not be savages and that Israel might be doing something wrong? So, and remember, for the MAGA that remains, what Trump says is gospel. So when now the gospel switches over to Israel is wrong, I think that could have a massive effect if it stays this direction, right? Of course, it can change at any moment. But also notice, look, Turkey working with us to impose a new leader on Syria with a very questionable past is not great either, right? This isn't about just Israel. This is about, hey, will people leave these countries alone? No, Turkey has its own agenda, Israel has its own agenda, and they demand the Syrians do this and the Lebanese do that and the Iranians do that. So no, the people that are the victims of all of this are the citizens of Syria, Lebanon, the occupied territories, and Iran. And obviously the aggressors are people like Israel, to a lesser degree Turkey, but as you just saw there, Trump admitted, yeah, we overthrew the government in Syria and we imposed the leader upon the Syrians, us and the Turks. And that's not great either. It's not good when Israel does it, it's not good when Turkey does it.
Yeah, we, along with Erdogan and Turkey, destroyed Syria. And now there is a former Al-Qaeda terrorist at the helm, essentially ruling that country. So one other thing I just want to note, Trump has all this tough talk for the Israelis as they level entire apartment buildings, allegedly in an effort to go after one Hezbollah militant, supposedly. It's interesting because today, Vice President JD Vance is on a media tour, trying to get the American people to support the MOU, which overwhelmingly they do support it. They did not support going to war with Iran. He knows that. It seems like he's trying to message to the neocons. But I just want to remind you of some of the commentary you're likely to hear from Vice President Vance internally when he thinks no one else is really reading or listening. Remember that Signal message group that an Atlantic reporter was accidentally added onto? Well, in that conversation, JD Vance was conversing with Mike Waltz, and I thought this was interesting. So JD Vance asks, what? Okay, this is shared by Dave DeCamp, who works over at antiwar.com. JD Vance says, what? Waltz responds with, typing too fast. The first target, their top missile guy. We had a positive idea of him walking into his girlfriend's building and it's now collapsed. How does JD Vance respond to that? I mean, you're talking about a building full of innocent civilians. He says, excellent. So it's totally fine to level an entire building full of civilians just so Israel can allegedly get one militant that they're targeting. Okay, good to know. I'm not okay with anyone attempting to launder their reputation after they've aided and abetted genocide in the Middle East, atrocities against innocent civilians. And we gotta be crystal clear that regardless of what Trump or JD Vance have to say today, the fact of the matter is they have aided and abetted the unspeakable crimes against humanity that were carried out by Israel, and they used our money to do it. Finally, I'm gonna go to one last video here because homeboy was spitting bars, okay? You're about to hear from Al Jazeera's senior political analyst. His name is Marwan Bishara. And he provides the historical context of what likely happens after a US president has some very stern words for Israel. Take a look.
I don't think Netanyahu worries about a fallout with Trump, and I'll tell you why briefly. Here, let me summarize 40, 50 years of history for you. In 1981, Begin, the prime minister of Israel, had a major fallout with Reagan. In 1991, a decade later, Prime Minister Shamir had a problem with Bush Sr. In 2001, Prime Minister Sharon had a problem with Bush Sr. In 2001, Netanyahu had a problem with Obama. In 2021, there was a fallout between Netanyahu and Biden. And what happened after in each and every fallout over 40 years? Israel was upgraded in the 1980s to a strategic asset, in the 1990s to a champion of the Middle East Pax Americana. In the 2000s, it was the hero of the global war on terror. And then after that, it got some $40 billion from Obama. And as we all know, the United States joined Israel's genocide in Gaza and joined Israel's war on Iran. So every time Israel, lashes out and there's a fallout with the United States, every Israeli prime minister thinks they're going to be not punished for it, they're going to be rewarded for it.
And as we all know, Israel is eyeing the merging of the IDF with our own military. They're also seeking to enter some sort of agreement where the United States literally has no choice but to share all of its intelligence with Mossad. So I don't know, we await what the next development is gonna be. And I do think that Israel is gonna find a way to get what they want without having to worry about the little tiny bit of transparency the American people have had thus far. Because remember, merging the IDF with the US military means that they get to exploit our resources, use our military at their behest as they like, without us even being aware of it, without any transparency whatsoever. So who knows, Cenk, maybe I'm just not as optimistic as I should be, but I just wanna caution everyone to hold off on celebrating and wait until we actually have a peace deal signed. And until we see a real severing of our alliance with that parasitic country, I find it hard to celebrate anything. We need to end this alliance entirely. Yes, end the war, I obviously want that. But they're always gonna find a way to drag us back into their BS if we continue this so-called alliance with a country that has no respect for our people.
Yeah, so let me address what the Al Jazeera reporter said and the main issue here, what's going to happen next. So the memorandum of understanding says Iran is going to not have a nuclear weapons program. They promised that and it verified that they will never have one. Great, they're gonna open up the Strait of Hormuz, great. That's the only things we want, a deal, let's get out of here. What are they gonna get? Sanctions relief. They're gonna get $300 billion, not from us, but from the Gulf countries, and we're gonna end our blockade. That's literally what we've been telling you on the show is the easiest deal for the last couple of months. They're finally doing that deal, great. So that's a positive direction. Now there's two more barriers, right? One, are we really going to be able to finish it? Are we going to take the memorandum of understanding, turn it into a peace deal, have the peace deal get finalized, and our military actually withdraws, and the Strait of Hormuz is open, etc. Okay, so that hasn't happened yet. We're at the first step here. We're not at the last step. Now, even if that happens, there's something else that's going to happen next. So Israel's gonna try to destroy that peace deal all throughout because they hate what's happened here. Now Iran has leverage because we know if they wanted to, they could close the Strait of Hormuz at any time. That gives them a lot more power and leverage. They're gonna have another $300 billion. They're gonna have the sanctions removed. They're gonna have their money unfrozen. So, and we did not destroy the regime. We didn't get rid of their ballistic missiles. We didn't get rid of Hezbollah or Hamas or any of their proxies. So Israel is livid over it. But let's assume for a second that they can't destroy the peace deal and we actually get to fruition. To Anna's point, that doesn't mean we're rid of the Israelis and, okay, we're finally can go on our way. No, the brother from Al Jazeera is correct. What Israel then does, and this is super important, guys, aided and abetted by our media. And the way that the media does it is not by going out and having the cable news anchors go, you all have to support Israel. No, they do it in a much more subtle and effective way. They just build into their stories the framing of, well, since Israel didn't get 100% of what it wanted, then we owe them. So now we're going to have to give them more money because, oh my God, Hezbollah, oh my God, they're having trouble taking southern Lebanon. And we owe them southern Lebanon and we owe them southern Syria. We owe it to them. So we have to give them more money. They're definitely going to ask for more money. And we have to merge our militaries because we owe all of this to Israel. So even if you get to the ideal solution, which we are now at least one step closer to, which is peace in this particular conflict, that doesn't mean that we have severed ties with Israel. No, they will go back to, you could phrase it any way you like, massively influencing us, largely controlling us. They will demand X, Y, and Z, and they will get it. And our media will say that if you don't agree with that you're some vicious anti-Semite, and all the Israelis are going to be murdered any second now. And remember, all the dirty Muslims are the terrorists. That's what our media does every single time, and our government officials will come out and go, we have to help Israel. So then with all that money and military advantage, they'll either go back to slowly taking more land, or every once in a while go, oh my God, a fly came over from wherever, Yemen, now we have to take Yemen. Oh, a mosquito came over from Turkey, we have to take over half of Turkey. So they're never gonna stop. The only thing that makes them stop in the long run is saying, we're done with you. Not another dollar, you're not an ally, we don't have to be an enemy, but we're neutral to you. We owe Papua New Guinea and Israel and Nicaragua nothing at all. You're not a special country. We owe you, we've already given you trillions of dollars. We don't owe you a red cent. So please go on your way. And if you don't, then we're gonna have to actually find who the Israeli assets are and extract them, okay? Now, that's a different issue. But for today, we have to take the win that Trump has for the moment being flipped and is arguing against Israel's position and is saying, let's go towards peace. Let's encourage that. Let's keep encouraging that. Let's get to a peace deal, and then we'll tackle the next issue of Israel taking away our sovereignty, taking our money, taking our military, which they're always going to try to do. And the corrupt politicians in America and the deeply corrupt national media will always help them in that effort. And we'll fight back against that, and that'll be a whole different political war here in America.
I am willing to give Trump credit as soon as he signs on the dotted line of a peace deal. So I'm gonna wait, but for now, sure, I encourage peace. We'll see if he actually gets there. When we come back from the break, we'll talk a little bit about some more of the war hawks melting down and how GOP senators might be looking to dissuade Trump from signing an actual peace deal. That and more coming up, don't miss it.
All right, guys, let's go to members on TYT.com. Peters 1947 says Trump will never forgive Bibi for playing him. He's going to think about revenge. I mean, from your mouth to God's ears, Trump versus Israel would be the greatest thing that ever happened. But we don't know what more cards Israel has up their sleeve. So this is a baby step, but actually it's a big step forward, but it's just one step. So he could easily backtrack the next time Israel does some sort of threat. But if that clash really does happen and Trump really wants revenge against Netanyahu, oh, that would be delicious. Lou B says Vance is out front taking face pies from AIPAC, thus saving Trump from their ire. No, AIPAC and the Israeli lobby don't want to attack Trump yet because they know that if they do that, then it might become irreversible. They're attacking Vance as a proxy. So it's really interesting, but we're gonna talk about that a little bit later in the show. Boomer Dragon Cat says Trump is painting the prettiest picture he can with all the media, especially now international. The MOU allows him to royally screw up in the next 60 days. So He doesn't need permission to screw up, though, to be fair. Wang Jun says Israel can't afford ending the wars. They're stuck between Iran and a cult. Ending the war also means having to admit they were unable to deliver greater Israel. And knowing how barbaric and violent the hardcore Zionists are, they might come for their heads. Either they continue the wars or face the consequences of a violent mob. Look, what happens inside Israel is another interesting question because, yeah, not only is Zionism a nationalist cult, but it's also now a religious fundamentalist cult. And so they believe in violence. So will they do violence against other Israelis, including their politicians? That's enormously possible. They did it to Yitzhak Rabin. They murdered him. So we'll be back. All right, back on TYT, guys. Cenk and Anna with you guys. So before we go on, let me do you a favor. Noble Mobile's gone nuts. They're actually giving you 3 months free now. You got to jump on that deal. And so it's at tyt.com/switch. Most you can pay is $50. Nothing on your phone changes. It's T-Mobile's 5G service, so my service is perfect. So and they give you data, money back if you don't use your data, including in the free months. So in the 4th month, you're also gonna get money for the 3 other months. So this is as good a deal as you'll ever find. You gotta switch now, save yourself a ton of money, tyt.com/switch. All right, now we're going to the next story, and let me handle that for you guys. So since we appear to be heading towards peace, at least taking the first steps towards that, the Israel First crowd in America is livid. They're not gonna let Trump get away with that, and they're super mad at JD Vance. And not that they think that Israel's their top priority, but you have to give us war for Israel. Well, you'll see it exactly in this story. Anna, tell us about it.
Well, it's really interesting because some of the GOP lawmakers who are trying to take jabs at this MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which would pave the way for an ultimate peace deal, they don't want to attack Trump per se. They still want to remain in his good graces. So they've been focusing most of their ire on JD Vance. I heard one lawmaker refer to the peace deal as the hillbilly peace deal, making reference to hillbilly elegy. It's like so pathetic. But anyway, look, Trump is at the driver's seat. He has agency, he gets to make the decisions, and he made the decision to go to war against Iran. And it's been tremendously unpopular from the jump, and it gets more and more unpopular every passing day. Now, with that in mind, you have the Israel First media figures who I want to get to first, and then we'll talk about what Republican lawmakers are attempting to do to squash a possible peace deal. I want to start off with John Podhoretz, who I was not familiar with really much at all until fairly recently. And I wish I could go back in time and enjoy a life without knowing who this man is. But nonetheless, he is absolutely livid, Cenk, that American soldiers are not currently dying on behalf of Israel by fighting boots on the ground in Iran. Take a look.
I honestly don't know if it could be worse. America is going to be in a strategically, tactically, and militarily worse position than it was under Biden. He made a choice to test America's resolve, and he has choked. He has chickened out. He has bled himself dry. Trump, the crazy lunatic psychotic who doesn't care about lives and will do anything and do anything, could not bear the idea of putting a boot on the ground anywhere in Iran, and could not bear the idea of a single American possibly being taken hostage, which I understand. I'm not saying that either of those is a good thing, but if you're gonna go to war, you have to put boots on the ground. Everyone in the military has volunteered to put their lives on the line for their country, and that the country itself may have to sacrifice in the form of wildly higher oil prices. If you think that the American national interest has to be engaged in this process, and if you go into the process and you lose it, and it's a complete war of choice, you have made things worse. The situation is worse.
Why don't you go put your boots on the ground in Iran, you piece of crap? How about that? I mean, can you imagine? He is complaining about the president of the United States having a difficult time stomaching the loss of American lives on behalf of a war Israel wants. This war in no way benefits us. It never was meant to benefit us. Jake, I can't get past the disgusting level of entitlement these gross Zionists have when it comes to sacrificing American lives for that god-awful country that honestly has caused so much pain, so much suffering, so much destruction. We have to sever our relationship with Israel. It is critical for the future of our country. I can't believe what that hog just said. I can't believe he just complained that Trump didn't put US boots on the ground where they would be slaughtered in a country that has 92 million people in it who rallied around the flag as soon as the United States struck them on February 28th. How about you send the IDF, John? How come you don't want to send the IDF soldiers? Maybe they could take a little break from slaughtering people in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon. Oh, but when it comes to the big kahuna, right? The real risky war where soldiers are very likely to die. Oh, send in the cattle. Send in the cattle, send in the American troops. Garbage, what a garbage person. Let me just say, he's lucky I'm not allowed to curse on this show because I'm actually holding back. But go ahead, Cenk, I'm curious what you think.
So I'm very familiar with John Podhoretz. He was one of the main drivers of the Iraq war. Ben Mankiewicz and
He's a pig.
Ben Mankiewicz and I fought against him tooth and nail 24 years ago. And so now he's back, of course, demanding another war for Israel. And at least he's dropped the pretenses, Anna. Like none of what he said was pro-American. Like, hey, we have to do this for American interests. It was all purely, no, America must do this for Israeli interests. Wait, I thought you were pretending to be an American. And then he says, you have to put boots on the ground. Wait, there's two different issues here. Number one, Podhoretz and the rest of the neocons and the Zionists, etc., when we were going into the war said, oh no, we don't need boots on the ground. Go ahead, the water's warm, go in. No, people saying we need boots on the ground are crazy. We're not gonna do that. And now he's saying, well, of course we were always gonna put boots on the ground. Of course we were lying to you in the beginning. And I demand that you put your American troops there. And if they die, so what? But wait a minute, why don't you put Israeli troops on the ground? No, how dare you? Those are precious Israelis. Do you see? Anti-Semite,
how dare you?
Yeah.
Americans are the ones worthy of slaughter in Iran, not for a war that protects our country, not for a war that benefits our people, but for a war on behalf of Israel so they can expand their borders, steal more land from their Arab neighbors. Podhoretz is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Sorry for interrupting you, Cenk.
No, that's okay. And then in Iraq, he's like, you guys did exactly what we ordered you to do. You sacrificed your own troops. You spent trillions of dollars so Israel wouldn't have to do it. Later in the show, we're gonna show you another Israeli who says, well, of course we can't fight this war on our own. America has to do it for us. And so that's why Podhoretz and all the Zionists in America are now livid. And to be fair, the Zionists are a little bit different category. There's the Zionists who love Israel overall. Then there's Israel first, like Podhoretz, Kornikas, and others who say, no, America's totally irrelevant. They're just our chattel, and you're to do exactly as Israel commands of you, and you're to die for Israel, and you're to spend all of your money for Israel, and if you don't, we're gonna ruin you, and we're gonna destroy your life here, and we're gonna use your media and your government to do it on our behalf. So he's a disgusting traitor to this country, and it's 100%. Obvious from exactly what he's saying. And the guy who was pretending to be Donald Trump's best friend earlier was a never-Trumper, and now has flipped back around to Trump is psychotic and a lunatic. Interesting. See, because it isn't about Trump. And by the way, it also isn't about Republicans or Democrats. Miriam Adelson used to give to Bill Clinton before she gave to Donald Trump. Larry Ellison used to give to Bill Clinton before he gave to Donald Trump. They don't care about parties here in America. They don't care about America at all. They only have one objective: take as much money and military power and every possible resource you can from America and give it to the country they actually love, Israel. They're not hiding it. If you're going around going, oh my God, that's a trope or something, you're not allowed to say it. Well, did you watch the video? He said it. Yeah, he's allowed to say it and he's allowed to try to rape you, but you're not allowed to object. So shut up, the Israelis tell us, and including the people here in America pretending to be Americans, but always saying that we should serve Israel. They say, shut up and take it. And if you don't, we're gonna call you an anti-Semite and destroy you on behalf of Israel. Well, kiss my ass, kiss all of our American asses. And now if Trump actually stays in this position, they're gonna have to attack MAGA full on. So now what allies are you gonna have? You dirtbags, you Israelis, you fascists. You're gonna call all Americans anti-Semites, and you're gonna get Jake Tapper and all of your disgusting mainstream media to do propaganda on your behalf, but it isn't enough. The walls are breached. We all know that you're trying to manipulate us. Yes, I said manipulate. That's super obvious, into giving you more money and more war. And we've never wanted this disgusting fascist to run our country. And I don't care what religion or race you are. I care that you're a fascist, which is what Pudhorse obviously is. But the last thing, Anna, is I'm glad he's dropped the pretenses and he's going, yeah, Israel, screw America, die for us. Very good. It's very helpful to have you on tape saying it. And now he says, oh, because of this, the situation is worse. As you originally said when the war first broke out, Anna, John, is there a problem with the war you ordered? You wanted war, you got war, it didn't help your beloved Israel. Sad goddamn day for you. No one cares. You know why? Because we're not Israeli, we're American.
That's exactly right. Now, it's funny that you mentioned Jake Tapper, because you're about to hear from a chorus of Israel Firsters, Tapper being one of them, essentially freaking out over the possibility of peace breaking out. Take a look.
Another Fox News host and longtime Trump backer Mark Levin is raising his hand too, posting on social media today, and I quote Mark Levin, "I've asked for days, why can't we the people see the damn MOU?" That stands for Memorandum of Understanding. Not through people briefed by an anonymous person. Honestly, I've never seen anything like this. If it's a great outcome for peace, then release it. Well, he's got a point. Now Iran's proxies, including Hezbollah, continue to destabilize the region. And by the way, Hezbollah is celebrating this agreement.
When we recovered Germany and Japan, the Nazis weren't in charge, the Japanese imperialists weren't in charge. Here, the Iranians are in charge. The killers and thugs are still in charge. We don't give them that money because what are they going to do with it? They're going to recover everything we've taken away from them. Who cares whether it's coming from the Arabs, from the Qataris, or whatever? They don't get it. They shouldn't get any of it. That's just the reality of it. They're going to take that money and recover everything. And you know that, Sean. You know that you can't trust these people.
A lot of conservatives who are critical. And I think if one of them were here right now, they might say, this is still the same group of religious extremists, of zealots who are willing to sacrifice the lives of tens of thousands of Iranians who are demonstrating for democracy, who fund terrorist groups. And even if they want to end this war, you still can't trust them. And they still are, I mean, this is, again, not my characterization, but the characterization of plenty of people in the Republican Party. They're still a fanatical death cult. How would you respond to that?
This deal and everything that we know about it, to the degree that it is being spun in public by this, and behind the scenes by the administration, everything about this deal seems bad to me. At some point, this Republican Party needs to decide which kind of foreign policy it's going to have. Is it going to be an America First foreign policy, one that is bold, that uses American power in key moments decisively in order to affect what it wants to achieve? Or are we going to just backslide into being some kind of hillbilly Obama kind of GOP? That is not something that is acceptable to me.
So that was Ben Dominic at the very end. That's Meghan McCain's husband. Unsurprising that he's salivating over war. It's very much in line with the McCain legacy. But just going back to what Jake Tapper said there about, working with or siding with a regime that's killed tens of thousands of people. No, it would be far better for the United States to continue its alliance with the Israeli regime, which has no problem sending American soldiers to their slaughter on their behalf, right, Jake? Right, Jake? But that's not what he thinks. No. People are saying, I definitely don't think this. People are just saying this and I'm repeating it. Sure, buddy. Back to you, Jake.
Yeah, so what do we always tell you? When it comes to the donors, there is no disagreement between the cable news networks. You just saw Fox News and CNN, not just their guests, but their anchors doing 100% propaganda for Israel. Oh, look at that, yet another donor class, and they're not the only donor class. It's also true of Big Pharma, Big Oil, etc. But another donor class where CNN and Fox News collaborate and go, no, support the wealthy and the powerful, right? And you see every Israeli asset on TV going, yeah, this is gonna hurt America. Who cares? Back to war for Israel, right? So they're all work for Israel. It's super obvious. They're not even making a case that it helps America to go back into the war, because there is no such case. They're just saying, no, you have to serve Israel. It's disgusting and it's obvious. I appreciate how brazen they are. Did you notice Aaron Burnett saying, oh, Hezbollah is celebrating this deal? No, Americans that are celebrating this deal because it gets us to peace. It ends the inflation. We never had an interest in this war in the first place. You would only, and by the way, the overwhelming majority of Americans are against this war. The Iranians are against this war. Literally every country on earth is against this war except Israel. But that's not how CNN frames it. CNN frames it as Hezbollah is celebrating. No, Aaron, if you were a real journalist, which is a hilarious thought, you would have pointed out the context of the entire world celebrating a peace deal. Instead, since you hate the peace deal because you love Israel so much and Israel wants nothing but war, you frame it as terrorists are celebrating. Are we all terrorists, Aaron? Because we're celebrating. America is celebrating peace because over 60% of us didn't want the war in the first place. Some polls have it at over 80% of Americans. Are you equating us with Hezbollah? Yes, you are. That's what you just did, and we saw it with our eyes. And then Jake Tapper.
Sorry to interrupt you. Hold that thought, because I have to comment on the Aaron Burnett thing. Look, this goes to show you how disconnected these anchors are from the realities that Americans are facing on the ground. Hey, Aaron, ordinary American workers are not raking in millions of dollars to sit in an air-conditioned studio and read a script that was written for them by their producers. Okay, most Americans have to work really, really hard just to eke out enough money to pay for the bare necessities in this country. And I don't know, a stupid war that doesn't really have a military solution to it, which is leading to inflation globally due to the lack of supply in oil and gas, is not really conducive to something that would benefit the American people. I think the American people would really benefit from keeping gas prices low. And that's impossible to do when 20% of the world's energy transits through the Strait of Hormuz. But she wouldn't know that. She doesn't know what it's like to struggle to fill your gas tank. Anyway, go ahead.
Now back to Jake Tapper. So he does that classic Fox News trick, but on CNN of some people are saying, I'm not saying it, but I'm gonna repeat it here like it's true. And my audience won't be able to tell it because I'm saying it. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying it like it is true. What did he say? He said that that the Iranians are religious extremists. Wait a minute, aren't the Israelis saying that God promised them that land 3,000 years ago? And in fact, now they're saying they were promised greater Israel, which is most of the Middle East. But Jake Tapper never, ever calls them religious extremists. Then he says they're terrorists, but wait, the IDF has a worse civilian kill ratio than Hamas or Hezbollah. That means they kill people on purpose. They do double taps, which is indisputably on purpose. They've destroyed every hospital and every school. Those are all civilian targets. And they've killed 100 times the civilians that Hamas and Hezbollah have. So if Hamas and Hezbollah are terrorists, then obviously Israel is terrorist. But Jake Tapper would never, ever tell you that, because his job is to protect Israel and to lie to you. To lie to you every single day and pretend that 1% of the civilians killed by Israel makes you the dirtiest, most savage terrorist. 100 times the number of civilians killed, it makes you a victim and doing self-defense. What a preposterous liar. Then he says, oh, the Iranians killed tens of thousands of civilians. That is totally unverified. No one has even bothered to verify it. CNN lies about it 24/7, has never proven it. But look, we don't think the Iranian regime is saintly. I'm sure that people were killed there and it's terrible. And I'm not in favor of the Iranian regime. If I had my ideal world, I wouldn't have them in charge at all. But I don't have my ideal world. And that doesn't mean that we should start a war against the Iranian people. On the other hand, Israel has verifiably, and even the IDF has confirmed, killed tens of thousands of civilians in Gaza. At a bare minimum, 76,000. But Jake Tapper never calls that terrorism. And then he says, it's a fanatical death cult. But wait a minute, the Zionists say, again, they're owed the land, and even if you're Jewish, a lot of times, particularly if you're Jewish, but you don't agree to the Zionist cult, they go, "You're a self-hater," and they drive you out just like all cults do. They think that they're the only ones that matter. They attack everyone else, totally fanatical, and they say we must have more land. And in order to get more land, since it's a settler colony, what do they have to do? They have to kill the people on that land and drive them out and grab it. And it's not like it's theoretical. They just did it to Gaza, and they have over 60% of Gaza now. Netanyahu said it, bragged about it, saying we're gonna get over 70%. Did you report that, Jake Tapper? Of course not. You hit it on behalf of Israel because you love Israel and you protect Israel, and you never call them savage terrorists when they are 100 times worse than what Hamas has done. That is an empirical fact. But they go, "How dare you cancel him, call him an anti-Semite." Remember, Palestinian lives don't matter. Lebanese lives don't matter. Iranian lives don't matter. Christian and Muslim lives don't matter. Only precious Israeli lives matter. And you have to help that cult. If you don't help that fanatical death cult, help them murder people in Lebanon to take southern Lebanon. Have you gone on a rant, Jake, about how Israel right now has invaded Lebanon? Is stealing southern Lebanon, is a fanatical cult that wants greater Israel and has slaughtered its neighbors to take their land? No, you've never done that because you're a giant liar. You're not in the news business. You're in the propaganda business, and not for our country, but for a different country. And you just proved it, and you prove it every single day. We show you the receipts. We show you his actual on-air appearances where he doesn't care about America at all. Everything is propaganda for beloved Israel. But hey, he's not saying it.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
All right, let's go to Twitch first. Progressive Entropy says, they stole major secrets from us and tons of money. They're an enemy, period. That is a very defensible case. They have stolen our uranium, our nuclear triggers, our nuclear technology, all of our top secrets. They steal. Oh, trope, what do you mean trope? They literally did it. They literally stole all of our nuclear technology and our nuclear material to build a weapon of mass destruction, which they use to threaten all of their neighbors. That is exactly what Jake Tapper, CNN, and all of our disgusting Israeli media here, pretending to be American media here, have said about Iran, when in fact it was Israel who did it. Israel who built the weapons of mass destruction by stealing from us. 100% fact. But when you say fact, they go, "You kill him, you destroy him, destroy his life, call him an anti-Semite, everyone attack him." Wait, is it true or untrue? Who cares? We're not in the news business. We're in the Israeli propaganda business. Destroy anyone who says the truth about Israel. They murdered 34 sailors on the USS Liberty. I grew up thinking it was a conspiracy theory because these mother effers lied to me. It's personal. They lied to me, they lied to all of you to protect their favorite country, not ours. They don't care about America at all. He disgusts me. Birdland Dragon says, when will this particular circle of hell cease and desist? Is easy answer. When we get rid of Israel's influence in America. We have to extract ourselves from these guys who do nothing but steal from us. They've also stolen over $300 billion. We didn't owe it to them. They took $8 trillion to spend in wars against their neighbors. That's a stone cold fact. We had nothing to do with those wars, all for Israel, all because of these propagandists. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. All right, let's go on to the next story.
All right, cold open.
Sadly, there are a lot of people who pretended to be conservatives or have a very large microphone, and they are encouraging people to side with this Islamic regime over the Trump administration and over the United States of America. Tucker Carlson was actually on a show yesterday rallying for Iran, saying, well, at least the Iranians hate the Jews, and at least the Iranians are supporting the Palestinians who are being genocided. Therefore, I'm for Iran. Wish I was joking, but that's what he said on his show. It's only going to get worse unless we start to crack down on the woke right. I think that the Trump administration really needs to start going after these people for not registering with FARA and really start monitoring their bank accounts.
Okay, so that is Israeli Laura Loomer saying that if you're an American who disagrees with Israel, we should monitor your financial accounts, maybe just steal your money for Israel. How dare you criticize Israel? Bow your head. Now, of course, what she said about Tucker Carlson isn't true because he never tells the truth. But she did say one thing in there, Anna, that I kind of liked and want to come back to. So tell us more about it, and then I'll mention the thing that I enjoyed.
Well, Loomer actually began her argument pushing for fascistic actions against her political opponents by, you're right, misrepresenting what Tucker Carlson actually said. But Cenk, what's so amazing is that immediately after she lied about what he said, she played the video of him saying something entirely different. So without further ado, here's more from Looney Loomer. It's coming. Sorry, guys, we're having a technical issue. But by the way, she's dedicated most of her time, and if you just check her social media activity, all of her time is spent trying to get the Trump administration to investigate anyone who's critical of Israel. All right, take a look.
Tucker Carlson was actually on a show yesterday rallying for Iran, saying, well, at least the Iranians hate the Jews, and at least the Iranians are supporting the Palestinians who are being genocided. Therefore, I'm for Iran. Wish I was joking, but that's what he said on his show.
Iran, which is bombing Arab countries and destroying Arab countries, is more popular in some Arab countries than it was at the beginning of the war. Now, how could that be? Well, because Iran has taken a clear position on the murder of Palestinian civilians, particularly in Lebanon, but not just Lebanon, in the West Bank and Gaza also. Iran has tied its ceasefire negotiations to a ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, that's not something that resonates with most Americans, like who cares? But in the Middle East and in the entire rest of the world, really, which is watching this, watching Israel destroy Lebanon for reasons that are not clear at all, murder Christians wholesale in Lebanon, destroy Christian villages, bomb Beirut, not a traditional Hezbollah stronghold. Why are you bombing Beirut? Unclear. But it's happening, and the rest of the world is watching carefully because Lebanon is a country a lot of people have been to, probably the most beautiful country in the world.
At no point did Tucker Carlson say anything about hating Jews. But if a Zionist is speaking, you should just assume they're lying, especially when it comes to addressing anyone they object to. Anyone who's critical of Israel, they'll immediately paint them as an anti-Semite because they're one-trick ponies. That's all they've got. They have no way of really defending the indefensible. So in an effort to destroy their opponents who are speaking truth, they attempt to defame them with nonsense claims of anti-Semitism. But here's the thing, Laura, you guys have literally called everyone an anti-Semite. So the word at this point has no meaning and no one cares. So congratulations, back to you, Cenk.
Yeah, so of course, whenever anyone criticizes Israel, they say they said that they hate Jews. Well, they never said that. Tucker didn't say it, we never said it. And they lie about us all the time because they think that, and then they have all this projection, right? Every Israeli accusation is a confession. So they have this thing where they say, oh, Muslims do taqiyya. Okay, I don't know what taqiyya is, but apparently it's lying to cover up your real intentions. I'm like, that does sound familiar. Sounds like what you guys are doing, right? Laura Loomer's like, yeah, we're lying, saying that they hate Jews, but that's for our ultimate goal of helping Israel, so it's okay. Every accusation is a confession when it comes to the Israelis. So the part I like though, Anna, is, oh, you'd like to investigate people who are coordinating with a foreign government. That doesn't sound so bad to me. We're not coordinating with any foreign government at all, not even close. All we care about is America. On the other hand, hold on.
I know.
On the other hand, if you were to investigate who's coordinating with the Israeli government, then my sense is we would arrest hundreds of people inside Washington in media and the government. Now that's a very interesting proposition, but if you propose that exactly as she's proposing it in cases that don't exist, when she proposes it and it's made up, mainstream media is like, oh, that's totally fine. Yeah, no problem. Not even noteworthy. But if we say, hey, wait, if you are coordinating with the Israeli government, maybe she's right. Maybe that you should be investigated and arrested for that. They'd be like, how dare you? They're setting up concentration camps. Just because we were working with a foreign government to manipulate the American government and steal your assets and steal your nuclear weapon technology and steal everything you have. Well, we should be allowed to do that. We're Israelis. No, there is no special Israeli rule. So she should be very careful what she asks for.
No, I disagree. Cenk. This is a woman who succeeded in getting 2 women detained by ICE, ready for deportation simply because their last name is Soleimani. She just claimed that these 2 women were related to Qasem Soleimani, which by the way, Drop Site News disproved. They just happen to have the same last name. And besides which, even if these 2 women were somehow related to Qasem Soleimani, we're going to punish members of his family even though they haven't done anything? How does that make any sense? So look, this is a woman, again, go onto her X feed, look at what she posts. She spends all her time tagging that tremendo come pinga, okay, Marco Rubio, he knows what that means. And I mean what I'm saying entirely about who he really is. And she tags him because she knows Marco Rubio is Israel's boy, okay? As Secretary of State, he will do Israel's bidding. And if I, have someone in my crosshairs, if I want someone investigated, he'll be a good boy and do as he's told. That's what she's saying here. And in every post where she's targeting someone, she goes ahead and tags Marco Rubio to ensure that he gets on the case immediately, start investigating. We already know that there are FARA issues when it comes to certain lobbying groups here in the United States that only lobby on behalf of Israel's interests, but there will never be consequences for them. The idea that Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are taking money from foreign governments. Why? Because they're so poor, they're so hard up on cash that they need to rely on bribes from the Arab world? I don't think so. But it doesn't matter what the truth is, because recent history has shown that Loomer gets what she wants regardless of what the truth is. And what does she want when it comes to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens? You're about to hear.
It's completely sold out to the Iranian regime, but it's been in the works for a while. I mean, last year I showed you how Tucker Carlson interviewed the president of Iran on his show, ran cover for him when he said that Iran wasn't actually plotting to assassinate Donald Trump, even though the president himself said that they had evidence that Iran was trying to assassinate Donald Trump and his staff multiple times. So big problem. We have a big problem, you guys, in this country. And well, it's only going to get worse unless we start to crack down on the woke right. I think that the Trump administration really needs to start going after these people for not registering with FARA and really start monitoring their bank accounts, looking into who's paying Tucker, looking into who's paying Candace Owens, looking into who is behind all of these so-called right-wing podcasters, all of a sudden rallying in support of our adversaries, Iran and Russia and China. And it's just very bizarre to me.
Who's bankrolling you, bitch?
Yeah.
Love to look into your finances.
Yeah, and she is bankrolled. I mean, that the mainstream media has even reported that she gets paid for this, what she says, and not paid as in like, hey, you get a lot of views on online and you get advertising for that, or you get membership. No, paid by wealthy people to do propaganda. Are they all Americans? I don't know. According to Laura Loomer, we should investigate that. And I don't want you to mistake what I'm saying. Do we live in a fair world? Of course not. Will this be applied fairly and evenly? Of course not. No, only Israel's opponents will be investigated. They will be rounded up. They will be, and if you're saying, oh, that's hyperbolic, what do you mean? They already rounded up Mahmoud Halil and Turks for writing an op-ed They rounded up a lot of people. I got banned from the United Kingdom for it. They're talking about deporting Trina Parsi. She's back to talking about that. Israel's enemies will be targeted here in America by the brown shirts like Laura Loomer, but more importantly, the more high up brown shirts like Marco Rubio, who've been paid off by Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison bragged about it in an email. We already know. Mainstream media not reporting it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It did happen. Ellison said he's approved for Israel. He's going to serve us, and he gave Marco Rubio $5 million into his super PAC. They're openly bribing and buying our politicians. Unfortunately, bribery got legalized by the Supreme Court, so they're allowed to do that. And the Adelson, well, you know what this war is? This is Miriam's war. Miriam Adelson gave Donald Trump over $300 million over 3 election cycles, and she purchased them. She bragged on tape next to Trump about how she'll give him another $250 million if he violates the Constitution and runs for a 3rd term. They're rubbing it in our face. Will we actually investigate the people who support Israel and seem to be coordinating with the Israeli government? No chance of that, because our media will be like, how dare you? They're precious Israelis. You're all anti-Semites. Investigate them. That's what they'll do, because our media works for Israel. So they love Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer gets people fired from the White House all the time. They're like, oh, no big deal. Then Hassan Piker goes on a rally and they're like, oh my God, make sure you cancel everyone that Hassan Piker's met with. Cancel Graham Plattner has a wrong tattoo. They viciously attack anyone who is against Israel. And when she's out there getting people fired, getting people arrested, like the Soleimanis, the example that Anna gave, they're like, oh, no big deal. Randy Fine says, let's murder everyone in Gaza. They're like, no big deal, no big deal, no big deal. If the Israelis do it, they're protected. They're a special class, super special class. If they do the same things they accuse others of doing, you're not allowed to look at it. You're an anti-Semite if you dare actually try to find out, hey, who's telling the truth? Who's right, who isn't? Is someone actually coordinating with their foreign government? They'll never do it fairly or evenly. Our government won't because they're bribed legally by the Israeli lobby. And our media is disgustingly pro-Israel and will always lie to you. Will always tell you that Laura Loomer and Randy Fine are no big deal. And you should never ever investigate someone who's pro-Israel, but you should investigate the hell out of anyone who dares to criticize Israel. And after all of that, super brazen, super obvious, then they'll turn around and go, what Israel influence? That's just a trope. I don't see any influence at all because I'm a moron. I'm a cable news actor. I don't know anything. All I know is Israel is a victim that you owe everything to, America. And if you disagree, we'll arrest you. We'll go into your bank account and we'll ruin your life for Israel. But Israel has no influence at all on our media and our government. They're all a goddamn joke. Anna, every cable news anchor is just the sophisticated version of Laura Loomer.
Cenk, we've been through this. The legacy media is owned by Zionists, so you should have the lowest possible expectations. I do, which is why I'm not in a fury on a daily basis like you are when they inevitably lie to the American people about what's actually going on.
No, I can't stand the gaslighting. I despise the gaslighting. Yeah, I can't. You're right. It triggers me. It triggers me.
No, I get
and
that
there's
it
another thing,
you.
Anna. Look, as we've talked about before, I bought into their lies earlier. That's why I'm much more mad. Like that, I thought that that Israel was attacked in 1967. Bunch of freaking liars lied to me my whole life, right? And so they lied to me about so many things, and I believe that so many of the lies that they told. So yeah, I'm disgusted.
Yeah, they lied to us in public schools. They lied to us in public schools. For the first time ever, I'm understanding the homeschooling movement, because what did we learn about in history class in high school, Cenk? What did we learn about? How many atrocities, how many genocides, how many terrible wars have taken place across the globe? How many of those did we learn about in high school? I can recall the Cold War, learning about that. And of course, every year in high school, you got to go through Holocaust training. But God forbid you learn about any other genocide, any other thing that the United States might have had its hands in when it comes to atrocities abroad. It's just, look, I get it. But my mentality is I'm a loyal person and I will support you if I see value in what you put out into the world. However, the second I identify you as someone who's working against the best interests of my country, of the American people, once it's abundantly clear that you've been compromised, as the legacy media in this country has been, I'm done with you. I'm just done with you, and I expect very little from you, if anything at all. So yeah, I mean, I like to be pleasantly delighted, surprised when there's a good report put out by a reporter in legacy media. But those reports are few and far between. In reality, we get endless glazing of a genocidal regime in the Middle East. And no, I'm not talking about Iran, I'm talking about Israel.
Yeah, I won't rest until every American realizes that mainstream media is not doing news. They're doing propaganda for the wealthy and the powerful, including the Israeli lobby. And so until they're utterly destroyed and their brainwashing enterprise, their giant propaganda machine whose job is to deceive all Americans is destroyed, I won't stop.
All right, well, when we come back, we're not gonna stop, we're gonna keep going. So we'll weigh in on some jabs that a former IDF spokesperson carried out against myself and Cenk Uygur. And man, this conversation was amazing. You don't wanna miss it, we'll be right back.
Hey Andrew, what's up?
Hey Cenk, you ready to make the switch?
Yeah, I guess.
I promise it's easy, universal, basic, and you get income.
Yeah, you keep saying that. But you sure I'm gonna have coverage?
Of course you will. You think I would have bad service? I'm Andrew Yang, of course I have good service.
All right, let's try it. But I'm so bad at tech. So, wait, should I do this thing of the hashtag business? Andrew, you're still on, right?
Yep.
Oh, I see it. No, wait, I don't see. Oh, yeah, I do see it. Here we go.
I actually did not realize that you'd be searching in real time, but I love it.
How much do people actually normally say?
Yeah, the average American is gonna save between $500 and $1,000 a year on Noble.
Yeah, no. You know what I'm gonna do, Andrew? Are you ready to become a Noble member? The two buttons are do it and go back. There's no going back, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
Here we go, Noble Mobile.
Oh my gosh, I just called you and are you now on Noble and not Verizon?
Why didn't you tell me it was gonna be super easy?
I know, man. Now you just stay away from your phone and watch the money roll in.
I can do that, here you go, phone, yeah.
What the f? Cenk, you still there?
Andrew? Oh, well, at least I got Noble Mobile.
It was really just one tape. The whole thing is wild.
It's in my shoe. It's in my shoes. Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT on.
You guys, the
channel, we're getting that message out.
Cenk and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
The people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning. They seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
The United States and Israel got spanked. Bad.
This was my ass.
Back on the online news show, The Young Turks, Cenk Uygur and Kasparian with you guys. By the way, a good way to help the show is hit the join button below or tyt.com/join. You could also ring the bell. That also helps you to keep up with our show, especially when we're live, and share the stream when you can too. All right, let's go to the next story.
The Americans, unlike Israel, are too sensitive when it comes to fighting and when it comes to actually paying the price of fighting.
You have to actually address the substance of my argument. Why are IDF soldiers shooting and killing children at humanitarian aid hubs? You genocidal prick, biggest welfare force in the world, constantly taking from the American people.
She's here to instigate. She's here to instigate. She is here to instigate. She constantly interrupts. That is not a way to have a meaningful discussion. And if I'd ask you to kindly put her in place so that at least I could.
How many times have you gone to Arlington and paid your respects to American heroes?
I'm not talking to you, Conricus, you terrorist piece of crap.
So that's Jonathan Cornyn, and he had some surprising confessions when talking to Mario Nafal, talking about how Americans are weak and they're not willing to die enough for Israel. Wow, we'll show you some of that in a second. And then he had some interesting words to say about Anna. You saw the debates there, and about me. So Anna, tell us all about it.
Well, I want to actually begin with what he, and I'm assuming many Israelis, actually think about the American people, because they demand that American soldiers risk their lives with boots on the ground military operations in Iran, which would surely get our soldiers killed. Now, would they be doing that on behalf of our country and what would benefit us, Americans? No, of course not. He insists that Americans literally die on behalf of the wars that benefit Israel. And so now that Trump is allegedly pushing for a peace deal with Iran, he's very upset and has some strong words for the American people. Take a look.
I think the war was a good thing to do, but what I think is a problem here is the finishing accord, and what appears to have been an urgency and a desire, an American desire, and almost desperation to make a deal and stop fighting. And I think that the Iranians have a good nose for weakness. Whenever they sense weakness, they usually are good at exploiting it into for their own advantage. And I think in this sense, they understood that the Americans, unlike Israel, are too sensitive when it comes to fighting and when it comes to actually paying the price of fighting, which of course from an Israeli perspective is easier because it's horrible, but we're here, we have skin in the game and we're defending our civilians. So for us, casualties, military casualties is a different perspective. For the US,
it's also the ROI on these decisions as well. The Israel benefits a lot more from a weaker Iran than the US.
Now, Mario, of course, is absolutely correct, but just going back to what Conricus had to say about Americans, how weak they are, how they don't have the stomach for the fight. Well, I mean, Israel is supposed to be a sovereign country. If Israel wants to fight Iran, they can go it alone, right? Since they're so strong, they're so tough. They don't need our help at all, or do they? Let's go to the next video.
Is there a possibility that Israel may decide to go at it alone without American support? So if Trump is like to Bibi, hey, you want to ruin this and fight Iran? You do it alone. We're not going to support you offensively or defensively. Do you think Israel is in a position where it would be open to such a war, or it would not make sense without American support at the moment?
No, that wouldn't make sense.
Interesting. Okay.
It wouldn't make military sense. It wouldn't make strategic sense. it may make political sense, temporary sense, coming elections, and the desire by Netanyahu perhaps to be perceived as defying the Americans and defying the world for electoral gains. But I don't think that that is a real possibility in terms of Israel.
So this terrorist who gets invited onto US news programs to share his expertise has the audacity to call Americans weak because we don't want to see our soldiers slaughtered in Iran. But when he's asked, well, what about you guys? Are you guys going to fight Iran? Go it alone? No, of course not. That doesn't make sense because he knows that IDF soldiers will get slaughtered. Why get IDF soldiers slaughtered when you can pressure Americans to sacrifice their soldiers instead? And this is sacrilege to point to be disgusted by. And so if you're like me and you see Conriquez for the terrorist that he is, oh my gosh, I mean, you got to get fired from jobs, you got to get disinvited from CNN panels because Conriquez, as an Israeli who demands that our soldiers die on behalf of Israel, is the credible one, right? So, Cenk, going back to your endless, frustration with legacy media. Legacy media is Zionist-owned, which is why they'll continue inviting scum like Conriquez on their programs to advocate for American troops to risk their lives on behalf of their little pet projects. But what do you think?
Okay, so I want to break down two stunning things he said there. One, Americans are too sensitive, he said, about casualties. Do you know how many casualties Israel took in Iraq, a country they pushed us into a war with? 0. How many did we have? Casualties, dead and wounded, over 50,000, but we're too sensitive. Then he says, Israel will not continue the war without America. They need America, otherwise they can't fight Iran or Lebanon. Wait, I thought you were not sensitive. I thought you guys were the brave ones. So why don't you go fight your own wars? No, we need our chattel to die for us, but we're too sensitive? Hey, listen, this Iran war, 13 Americans have died. How many Israelis have died? 0. See, the Israelis are great at murdering civilians. If you've got defenseless women and children in Gaza, they'll drop a 2,000-pound bomb on them and light them on fire. But actually fight against Iran? No. We need America to do that for us. We need America to die for us in Iraq, Iran, wherever we order you to go die for us, and they did. After 9/11, very conveniently, they gave us a list of 7 countries to attack on their behalf. We attacked all 7 of those countries. And we did that at casualties to Americans, but he says all of the death and destruction that America has faced because Israel ordered us to die for them doesn't count. You're too sensitive. He needs more Americans to die for Israel. You haven't died enough. You haven't spent enough. You haven't done enough for Israel. Okay, then why don't you do it? Why don't you go on the ground? No, I'm too sensitive. But wait. If you think this Iran war is so goddamn important, and you admit it's more for Israel than it is for America, he admits it throughout the interview, then why don't you put your precious Israeli troops on the ground? Go ahead, do it. What do you need us for? You guys are the tough guys, right? We're just overly sensitive Americans. You got this, bro, you got this. You go fight Iran. Oh, no. Anna, asking Israel to fight its own wars is a well-known anti-Semitic trope. No, Americans must die and fight their wars. Otherwise, we're all anti-Semites whose careers should be ruined.
Look, you gotta give him some credit for his candor, right? Because I mean, there is no, the veil has been lifted. The way that these people actually view and perceive the American people is basically what you're hearing them say now, that there's a possibility of a peace deal. They hate us. They loathe us. They just see us as useful tools to bankroll their border expansion projects, their wars, and to basically sacrifice our soldiers on behalf of those wars. And if we're unwilling to play ball, we're the same as the Iranians, we're the same as the Arabs, it doesn't matter, right? Everyone is their enemy if they can't be utilized as a tool. So I want to move on to the next portion of their conversation. So during a conversation with Mario Nawfal, Jonathan Conriquez, a former IDF spokesperson, weighed in on whether Israelis are pushing to merge the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, with the American military. Now, we know that there's an effort to do this. It's a part of the National Defense Authorization Act. Separately, Senator Tom Cotton is proposing merging Mossad, Israeli intelligence, with our intelligence, and essentially passing a bill that would ensure that the US has no choice but to consistently and constantly share our intelligence with Israel. Jonathan Karikis does what you can expect most Zionists to do. He lies. Let's take a look.
When I see things like merging the US military and the Israeli military, Section 224, or Senator Cotton, when Senator Cotton says, let's merge Mossad and the CIA, I'm not sure if you saw that. He wants to introduce a bill to merge the CIA and Mossad. That hasn't passed or anything. And he wants to make it irrevocable. Have you seen that?
I saw your tweet about it. I haven't seen the details about it. There's been talk about this for a long time. And the position in Israel, the IDF and most of the establishment has been, no, thank you. We don't want a defense treaty with anybody, not even with our greatest ally, the US, because we don't want our hands tied by anybody. We want to remain with independence and with agency to pursue our national strategies and defense policy as we see fit. And it's been debated long ago, and it's been declined and shot down, and I think for good reason.
Now, he is completely lying there because the effort to merge the IDF with our military was proposed by Benjamin Netanyahu to a Republican member of Congress, who then drafted up the proposal as part of the National Defense Authorization Act. So Israel 100% wanted this. But you know what, Cenk? He had to go a step further. Aside from lying, he goes so far as to say that Americans can't be trusted, which is why the Israelis definitely don't want this. Take a look.
I don't see any scenario whereby the Mossad will be integrated into any US architecture. I think that would be very, very dangerous because they cannot be trusted. The amount of leaks from the Pentagon and from other US agencies when it comes to using information for political objectives and to hang Israel out to dry. I've seen that so many times personally, and I think it's much more propaganda that people like Cenk and Kasparian and I don't know other loonies can chew at and foment about, but it's not reality.
I'm going to kick it on over to you, Cenk. Your thoughts?
Okay, so you don't want Section 224, you don't want to merge our militaries, you don't want to merge CIA and Mossad. Deal, man, we got a deal. Now, the reality is, of course, they do want that. That's why they got every one of their dogs in our Congress that they bought like bitches, not just Republicans, but almost every Democrat on that subcommittee except Ro Khanna and Sarah Jacobs were like, we have to merge our military. We have to take a $1 to $1.5 trillion budget and we have to let Israel access all of it for free, merge the militaries. So why don't you call off your dogs? You paid off every one of those Republicans and Democrats. So why don't you tell them, oh no, Israel doesn't want to merge? Oh right, because you're a goddamn liar and Israel ordered them to betray America and to give all of our military intelligence, assets, data, they call it data fusion, all over to Israel with this disgusting bill proposed by the Israeli lobby. So if an Israeli is talking, an Israeli is lying. That's the current state of affairs. I wish it wasn't the case, wasn't always the case, but certainly with any Israeli official that is on air, they're almost always lying. So if he was telling the truth, we'd get rid of that section immediately. But we can't because everyone they purchased in government is in favor of doing this on their behalf, not our behalf. You should, look, Israel is taking advantage of us and has for decades. But at least I understand that logically from their perspective. Why not go take the biggest military in the world and get it for free? You don't have to spend any money. All you do is you pay off their politicians and then you get 100 times the money back and the military advantages back. You get 1,000 times the money back. So I get why Israel does it. I'm livid at our politicians who are so disgustingly corrupt that they grovel at the feet of people like Cornyn and Netanyahu. Remember all the standing ovations our disgusting pig politicians gave Netanyahu? Like he was defying Obama and saying, no, you have to go to war with Iran, all the way back then. Don't do a peace deal. Don't end their nuclear program. And all of the dogs in our Congress were like, bravo, Israel, bravo, more war, get more Americans die, just like we did in Iraq. So those sick pigs are the ones that are trying to join our military. Why don't you call off your pigs? And is that anti-Semitic? No, I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about American politicians who've decided to betray America for a couple of shekels. And Cornyn knows he has them in his back pocket, so that's why he's like, oh no, we don't even want that. Hey, Ted Cruz, hey, little bitch, pay attention. Your boss is talking. Servant, go merge the militaries. I want $1.5 trillion for free. And I want you to attack everybody for me, for free. And that's who that disgusting terrorist is. And then he says, the CIA and Mossad, we can't merge them because we don't trust the Americans. Why don't you get the hell out of our country? If you don't trust us, great. Get the hell out of our country. Never come back. Never come back, okay? But no, the media treats him like he's a darling. Oh, he's a beloved IDF propagandist. But if an American objects to Israel, kick him off the air. They don't even agree to terrorism. They don't even agree to slaughtering 23,000 children. So we can't be trusted. You stole our nuclear secrets. You stole all of our top secrets with Jonathan Pollard. And now you dare to say we can't be trusted? You stole our uranium, you stole our nuclear triggers, you bought off our politicians, you bought off our media, we can't be trusted? Look at this pig spitting in America's face. Oh, if you're an American out there, he just flat out spit in your face. It's like a scene out of Tombstone. He slapped you across the face and said, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, Israel does it every day, Cenk. They do it every day. And I'm glad that they're saying it out loud so we can just show the audience the receipts and then you can do with that information what you will. But I have one more video. You gotta save a little bit of that heat, some of that rage for this next clip where he really goes out of his way to attack you, Cenk. Let's take a look.
I think there's a lot to show from an Israeli perspective how beneficial the cooperation between Israel and the US has been over the years for US military interests. And I know that you've got so many people on who would say the opposite. You had Cenk here and many other people who are so consumed with their hatred towards Jews and Israel, they cannot acknowledge reality and fact.
I wouldn't say Jews, but I hate conflating the two. I wouldn't say Jews, but yeah, Cenk and others are very opposed to Israel, much more than me. I think the debate I was having with Cenk is like Israel controls the US. I'm far from that camp.
But we do. It's nonsense. And I saw your tweet about it. I saw your tweet about it. It's so childish and it's so low level, so lightweight intellectually.
I love it. So lightweight intellectually, right? As you literally sit there and lie about everything. And his only rebuttal to you, Cenk, is he's a Jew hater, which is par for the course. One trick ponies. You're an anti-Semite as you speak the truth, and more importantly, advocate for policies that actually benefit the United States, as opposed to a foreign country that sees our people as nothing more than cannon fodder or their personal ATM machine.
Okay, so one thing at a time. So he says America has gained more from Israel than Israel. I mean, what a hilarious, and by the way, not only is it a hilarious statement, but it's also insulting. So after we give you over $320 billion, you're saying you owe us more because we did you the favor of taking your $320 billion. After we spent $8 trillion fighting the wars that you wanted us to fight against all of your neighbors, we haven't done enough for you, that we gained more from that than you did, and that we still owe you more. I mean, come on, man. So then he says, if that's true, by the way, then great. Jonathan, I have a great idea for you, okay? And let's see if you're, an intellectual heavyweight like yourself could certainly understand this, because I'm going to use your logic. Your logic is, if America gives Israel over $300 billion, then America wins and gains, and and Israel doesn't gain from that. Well, then great, I'm gonna help Israel. You give us the $300 billion back, and that way Israel will be helped. Well, you wanna do it, right? I mean, you love Israel, obviously, there's no problem with that. You're an Israeli, I get it. So give us the $300 billion back and then you'll get all the benefits. Oh, you don't wanna do that. That's weird. How about you give us the 8 trillion back? How about you give us the weapons of mass destruction you stole from us back? How about you give us anything back? No. We're not gonna give you anything. You owe us everything. Give me more trillions of dollars, he says. But if you complain about it, I'm not gonna argue with you because none of the facts are on his side, right? The amount of money we've given them is not in dispute. The wars we fought for them is not in dispute. The fact that it cost us $8 trillion is not in dispute. So since he can't argue with any of my facts, he goes, he hates Jews. And then has the nerve to call someone else an intellectual lightweight when you're a moron, when you're an idiot like Jonathan Cornyn, and you can't make any rational arguments or arguments based in fact. What do you go to? Ad hominem. You go to cancel him. Don't let him talk. Don't let him talk. Why? He hates Jews. Wait a minute. 63% of Jewish Americans are against the current Israeli government. Do they also hate Jews? Are the majority of Jews in America anti-Semitic, according to your logic? I know, logic. It's a tough one for you, Jonathan, because your brain is about this large and you use it all for violence and enabling terrorism. So if you want to murder 23,000 children in Gaza, Jonathan thinks, well, the Israelis are tough enough to do that. You give us 5-year-olds and babies, we'll slaughter them and we'll burn them alive with our 2,000-pound bombs because we are strong. But Americans, you haven't died enough. Only thousands of you died in Iraq. Only 13 of you have died in Iran. You're soft. You don't die enough for Israel. And if you object, just like I did with Cenk, I'm gonna call you a Jew hater and I'm gonna try to destroy your life. Good news is all of American media and the government is on my side, so they'll help. They'll pretend that it's true and they'll call Anna and Cenk anti-Semites and Jew haters, and then we'll all try to collectively destroy their lives and the lives of any American who dares object to Israel. But when that looks like overwhelming control, then we'll say, can you believe they're complaining about our control? They're too sensitive. And they're Jew haters, destroy them twice as much. Well, Jonathan, you're a terrorist, not just for all the Palestinian children that you've helped to murder, not for just for all the Christian and Muslims you've helped to murder in Lebanon and Iran and all of your neighbors. All you ever do is murder your neighbors to try to steal their land, but you're also terrorizing all Americans. Now remember, if you don't give me all of your money and your entire military, then I'm gonna call you an anti-Semite and destroy you, but I have no power. Oh, by the way, CNN, take Anna off the air. She's daring to complain about Israeli terrorism. Remember, you have to be pro-Israeli terrorism and you have to be bigoted against Muslims. Otherwise, we're gonna have your life ruined, but I have no control. You do, Jonathan, because you got Anna off the air and CNN, congratulations. But we can all see you. We can all see the disgusting control that these Zionist terrorists have in America.
His pets over at in the board of Real Clear Investigations did right by him and fired me as well because I called him a terrorist, but that's what he is. Final thing I'll say about this, and I have no regrets, which is why I showed you guys videos of me calling him a terrorist. I stand by my statement. The final thing I'll say is, Piers Morgan really goes out of his way to be as fair as possible to the pro-Israeli perspective, even when I don't think he needs to be. And so he invites Jonathan Conricus on a regular basis. I have no problem with that. I personally don't care. And I'm willing to spar with anybody on that panel. But I do think Piers Morgan should be aware that Conricus, in the context of that conversation with Mario Nafal, basically implied that Piers Morgan is an anti-Semite who brings on anti-Semitic voices and asks them softball questions to say what Piers Morgan actually wants to say, negative things about Israel. So I hope Piers knows that as kind as he's been to the pro-Israeli perspective, as inviting as he's been towards someone like Conricus, behind his back in other conversations, they'll go out of their way to smear Piers Morgan as some rabid anti-Semite.
Yeah,
that's who they are.
Last thing on that is Every Israeli accusation is a confession. That's exactly what Jake Tapper does on CNN. We literally showed it to you earlier in the show. He invites on Israeli terrorists, and then he goes, well, softball question. Aren't the Muslims lunatic, fanatical, religious savages? I'm not saying it. Oh, you're saying it. Oh, I'm not saying anything against it. Oh, I'm so innocent. So Kornikas is saying, well, if you don't do exactly as our other dogs in media do, well, then we're gonna blame you. If you don't immediately disqualify anyone who criticizes Israel as an anti-Semite, well, we're gonna call you an anti-Semite. But go ahead, try to cancel all of America. You're almost there, John, almost there. Call all of us anti-Semites, demand all of our wallets, demand all of our money, all of our sons and daughters, and then smear everyone who opposes you until there's no one left but a bunch of like crazed Zionists in the corner going, we have to kill more Palestinians. We haven't taken enough of their land. America, you're soft and weak. Kill more for us, die more for us. Jonathan, that's exactly what you look like. You look like a sick terrorist.
All right, we got to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to have a little bit of fun, believe it or not, with Goldie Ghamari. Okay, she's a part of the Iranian diaspora who is pretty livid about the impending peace deal. But more importantly, she had some thoughts about why the people of Iran didn't rise up in order to oust the current regime. We'll be right back.
Anti-Semitism.
All right, let's go to Super Chat. The Curious Adventurer says, hey, Cenk and Anna, I sent an email through tyt.com today to ask you to interview Trina Swanson on the revolution. We need to help getting her exposure. She rejects the corporate/Israeli PAC money and openly supports healthcare for all. Please. All right, thank you for doing that, and good shout out for Trina Swanson there, and we'll look into it. Rose Orozco, thank you for the donation. 37 and thriving Pakistani American says Laura Loomer wants to deport Israel's critics, then deport her Mossad Barbie ass to Israel first. Taxpayers are done funding your 10,000-mile obsession. America first means introduce the deport everyone who isn't American bill, including Israel dual agents. Boom, argument shredded. The only thing I'll disagree with you on is that Barbie, I'll leave it at that. Jay Lou says, I voted for Trump, but this turn by Trump is just to justify rate cuts. Maybe, Jay Lou, I mean, I hope not, but we'll see. DJ Payne 1236 says, you guys are awesome. You all give me hope with your passion and truth that I try to be the best person I can be in this insane world. Never easy, especially in these times, but I try nonetheless. He also wrote in, Looney Loomer just ruined my perspective. Forget my last super chat comment. Just kidding. That's funny though. No, guys, everybody hang in there. We got to fight back, and we got to get to find a person who's going to represent America and make him president. Lisa Grand on YouTube member section says, they lied to all of us. Thank God I woke up. The Curious Adventurer says, did you all see AIPAC crying on social today about the deal? Of course, they hate America. Mr. Cecil Jr. says, after the war, everyone should be impeached. It's not going to happen, but it should. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT Cenk and Anna with you guys. Let's go to the next story.
So interesting that Naftali Bennett comes on here and says, well, Israel has a right to defend itself. What about Palestinians? What about the Lebanese? What about the Syrians? What about Iranians? Because last time I checked, the United States and Israel were the ones who unilaterally started this war, assassinated Khamenei. And furthermore, 4,000.
IRGC. You don't speak for us, Iranians.
Wonderful. Listen, let me just finish.
We're so grateful.
I know. Yes.
Regime is being attacked.
Sure. I'm sure you are grateful.
Do not conflate.
I'm sure you are grateful. Displaced.
Over 40,000 have been killed by the Islamic regime in January. Where were you then? Where were you then?
I was against the regime.
So that's Goldie Ghamari pretending to be Iranian. She obviously loves Israel, loves that they're bombing and killing Iranians as we speak. and pretends to speak on behalf of Iranians. But she is going to say some out of control, absurd things if what you just heard wasn't absurd enough. So Anna, tell us about it.
Well, let me just note that while she tries to speak on behalf of all Iranians, we're talking about a disbarred, disgraced former lawyer who sits in the comfort of her home in Canada as she advocates for the slaughter of Iranians actually living in her homeland, which she is calling for complete destruction of. So with that in mind, let's talk about how this conversation kicked off. It actually kicked off with Goldie Ghamari claiming that the Iranian regime is actually about to collapse. Let's take a look.
The Islamic regime is slowly collapsing internally. I hear some people talking about how there's like this new, stronger, more, hardliner Ayatollah. Where is he?
Really?
Yeah,
Goldie?
absolutely. Well,
really?
Piers, did you know that the supporters of the Islamic
Where is the evidence? Where is the evidence this regime does not maintain a completely tight grip over the country and the people? There hasn't been any uprising of any kind.
When it comes to this, the Iranian people rising up, Iranians have made it very clear. Our leader is His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi. Reza Pahlavi has said very clearly that when the conditions are right, he will make the call, he will issue the call, and the Iranian people at that point will rise up. He has not issued that call yet.
Delusional. His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi, who sits in the comfort of his home in Virginia, hasn't stepped foot in Iran for 47 years. But Goldie advocates for bombing campaigns against Iran, the killing of innocent people in Iran through said bombing, and then would like to install her preferred monarch as the leader of Iran. Yeah. Good luck with that. Clearly, the Iranian regime is nowhere close to falling. And that's because they're actually a lot more sophisticated than morons like Goldie Ghamari give them credit for. Back to you, Jake.
So, I said that she's actually working for Israel. You might say, well, no, that's not fair. She's Persian, right? Maybe she just has a different version of helping the Persians. Did you notice the flag in the background?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was Israel's flag. Wait, so Israel's the country that attacked Iran, dropped bombs on their children, and you have their flag in the background pretending that you speak for the Iranians? And has there been a big uprising that Goldie and the other Israelis promised us when we attacked Iran, and that the Iranian people were gonna be like, give us a king, a dictator. We really want an Israeli dictator like Reza Pahlavi, His Royal Highness. We need him. Oh wait, literally no one asked for that. Not only that, the Iranian people went and stood on the bridges and around the power centers in Iran where Israel threatened to bomb. They said, if you're gonna bomb these civilian infrastructure, you're gonna have to get through the Iranian people. Massive, massive rallies in favor of the regime. By the way, I'm against the regime. So one of the reasons I was against the war is because you're going to make the regime stronger in Iran. Why? The minute you start dropping bombs, people rally around the flag. It's the most obvious thing in the world. The only way that you wouldn't see that is if you're an Israeli propagandist, and this has nothing to do with helping the Iranian people. It has to do with neutering Iran, destroying Iran so that it could not be a regional competitor to Israel. It can't protect the Lebanese, it can't protect the Palestinians as Israel slaughters southern Lebanon and Gaza and takes more territory. Oh, I can't believe the Iranians are helping them. No, we must murder them. And Goldie comes out and goes, yes, murder my people, murder them, I love it, please. Here's my Israeli flag, I love Israel, bomb the Iranians. But I'm an Iranian who cares about the Iranian people. You certainly don't act like it.
That's exactly right. Now, what I especially love, I love when Goldie is on one of these panels. I think it's fun, right? You need some comedic relief when you're talking about such serious topics. And I also appreciate the fact that she didn't have a moment to spare to comb her hair before she went on air. But nonetheless, I wanna go to this next moment in the panel where Wajahat Ali was speaking from a place of, I don't know, knowledge, like he knows what's going on, so he's sharing his perspective. Goldie immediately interrupts by focusing on identity. Let's take a look.
Yeah, back in reality, if Reza Pahlavi actually goes to Iran right now, most likely he would be assassinated and he would not be greeted with the majority of people because he's seen as an agent and tool of the United States of America. But let's go back to reality. Donald Trump's biggest mistake. His biggest mistake was being dog-walked by Benjamin Netanyahu.
I would suggest you don't speak about the Iranian people and how they view His Royal Highness. You're not Iranian. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what people in Iran think or say.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your alternative take on history. Let me just respond.
In fact, just to bolster what he's saying, after the agreement on the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Iran was allegedly agreed upon, right? That's where we are at this very moment. There were some protests in Iran. Protests among the Iranian people who do not want to end the war. They would like to keep fighting. So there was a little bit of an uprising, just not the kind of uprising that Goldie would like to lie to people about in order to, manufacture consent for an ongoing war that has done nothing but, you're right, Cenk, get people to rally around the flag in Iran. So I can't believe this woman ever passed law school or passed the bar, but she was later disbarred. So I can understand that. Back to you.
Yeah, so JD Vance was on Megyn Kelly's show today, and he said, like, the neocons live in a fantasy world where Reza Pahlavi is popular in Iran and is going to come back and lead them. So even JD Vance is making fun of them, going, no, as Wajahat Ali said, it's an alternate reality. So in her reality, the Iranian regime is on its knees and they're almost about to give up. In reality, the Memorandum of Understanding has Iran getting $300 billion from the Gulf countries, us lifting the sanctions, us unfreezing their assets, also that they'll open up the Strait of Hormuz. That doesn't look like a country that's been weakened. It looks like a country that's been strengthened, or at least a regime that's been strengthened. And so this is the worst of all worlds. So guys, that's the thing. We go on these programs like Piers Morgan, and we're not debating people who are debating in good faith. And the upsides and downsides, but we see it a little bit differently. We think that maybe in the future something else will happen. No, we go in and we tell you facts, and these people come in and they're like, no, the dinosaurs that are running Iran love the unicorns that are their allies. And I'm like, how do I respond to unicorns and dinosaurs? You're not making any sense. You're not attached to reality. It's like debating somebody who just escaped from a mental asylum. How do you have a rational conversation with someone that isn't saying anything that's true? So what happened in reality? Not only did we quote unquote not win, and it cost America precious money and lives, and it turned into a disaster. But on top of that, now the Iranian regime is much stronger. That's exactly what we were warning about. So that didn't help the people who were oppressed in Iran, but she doesn't care about the people in Iran. When Israel's bombing them, she loves it. Now they're more oppressed than ever. She doesn't mind it because it isn't about Iran for her. For her, please destroy Iran on behalf of Israel. That's what she cares about, and that's why it's so sick.
Yeah, you're totally right about that, Cenk. In fact, if the control room doesn't mind, can you guys bring up the G3 as B-roll? Because I want to point something out. Because in this conversation, if you guys can recall, you have Wajahat Ali arguing that, look, if Reza Pahlavi steps foot in Iran, he's dead, okay? They see him as a tool of the United States and of Israel. And what I found really interesting in Goldie Ghamari and Jonathan Conriquez's reaction to that is they both shake their head at Wajahat Ali at the same time, right? You're about to see it. Further bolstering the notion and the reality that Reza Pahlavi was meant to be installed. Look at them, they're both shaking their head at the same time as Ali is telling the truth. It's absolutely true. And it's because this is the installation of that wannabe monarch was a project of the Israelis because they want to have control over that country. If they can't get a failed state, if they could somehow miraculously accomplish regime change, which clearly they can't, but if they were to accomplish that, they would want an easy to control leader, much like what Lebanon is experiencing with their current leader who decides to go after Hezbollah, even though it's Israel who is literally leveling southern Lebanon and is openly admitting that they intend on annexing land from the country. So those are the kinds of leaders Israel loves.
Yeah, last two quick things here. Yeah, they shook their head in unison because they're both arguing for the Israeli position, not the Iranian position. Yep. The idea that the Iranians are can't wait for Reza Pahlavi to come and be their dictator is hilarious. There is no such thing. The only place that exists is in American media and in the fantasies of the Zionists like Goldie Ghamari and Jonathan Cornyn. The second thing is, to be fair, I just want to do a quick correction here because we care about the facts so much here. Reza Pahlavi is not an American and Israeli puppet. He's just an Israeli puppet. Because to be fair, both JD Vance today and Donald Trump in the past have said, no, Reza Pahlavi has no support in Iran and we don't support him leading. And which of course infuriated the Israelis. They're like, no, that's the puppet dictator we demand that you put in. Yeah, but we can't put him in unless we do ground troops for years and years and years. They're like, yeah. Send your kids to the meat grinder, kill more Iranians, kill more Americans, and put in an Israeli dictator as the head of Iran on behalf of the Iranian people. Yeah, my ass.
All right, well, look, it's been a heavy show, but don't worry. Operation Joy is next. I even have a submission. I'm very excited. So, Cenk, are you excited?
I am. I also have a submission. So we'll talk about things that brought us joy. We're gonna share things that brought you joy. And in this crazy topsy-turvy show that we do, in this world that we're in, we actually not only give you the hard news, but also try to lighten you up a little bit. So stay right here. Everybody come back for Operation Joy. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. We're gonna do Operation Joy. We started with Cheesy Fingers 79 gifting 5 memberships on YouTube, which gives us joy because of the gifted memberships, but it's also joyous because we have Cheesy Fingers 79 on our side. It's such a fun handle. And then Frank Thorne wrote in a while back, a YouTube member saying, Doozy's making a comeback. Will join, of course, in TYT lore. I didn't realize we were saying doozy that often. Okay, noted. And I like it. Doozy's a fun word. So, Anna, do you want to do your submission of joy now, or do you want to save it till later?
Of course I want to do it now. In fact, I have 2 things I want to bring up. Before we get to my submission, I just read a comment from one of our members that gave me joy. This is from Bowie Bear, who says, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis has been my go-to since I saw you interview him, Anna. That makes me so happy. I love Daniel Davis. I think he's such a great person. I mean, I don't know what all of his political views are. I don't care. Like, you can tell he cares about the truth. You can tell that he's not like one of these guys who's like, oh, I vote for conservatives, so I'm gonna defend Trump no matter what. No, he disproves and debunks the Trump administration's lies, especially when it comes to foreign policy and the wars we're involved in. Every day, he's relentless. And I've learned a lot from him. So I'm really happy that I was able to introduce him to the audience and people have seen value in following the work that he does. So that gives me a lot of joy. Go ahead, Jake.
So you know what, now that you did that, I'll do two more comments that are fun from leftover from the main show. Doodle Dragon Amron said, happy 2-2 Tuesday, you two. Love you, TYT. Welcome back to the Thunderdome, Cenk. We missed you in America. So that leads to two things. First of all, the Thunderdome is a great phrase. I'm gonna use that from now on. Second of all, so at home, I say America all the time. So like, told you guys this before, something goes well, it's a good day, I come home and I go, America, right? So the kids are super used to it. And now Joy, Anna, she goes, America, B. And I'm like, what the hell's B? She's like, you know, the eagle. Whenever we do America, the eagle comes out and goes, B. I'm like, it's not B. Like, it's like maybe like, oh.
I don't know. I actually don't know what like the American bald eagle sounds like. Have you ever heard like a red-shouldered hawk do its call?
No.
You would never guess that it comes from a hawk. It sounds so wimpy and so pathetic. But those hawks, they'll eat your little dog. Okay, you better be careful. So sometimes it's not about the tone. Sometimes it's about, you know, the bite.
Yeah, I know, I hear you. But the only time I've ever heard anything theoretically from an eagle is like those things that are like over the top, right wing stuff where they're like, wah, wah. I don't know if that's what an eagle actually sounds like, right? So we have no idea. The only bird that I really, not the only one, but the main one that I know what it sounds like is parakeets, because randomly in West LA, there's tons of parrots or parakeets, whatever they're called, and they have a very distinctive sound. So if they're in the neighborhood, you always know, you look up and you see all these green parakeets running across, flying across the sky. It's kind of really cool and weird and surreal.
Please, Jake, step aside. You need to ask the bird expert here. They're red-crowned parrots, and they sound awful. Okay, they're beautiful birds, but they sound awful. Like you want to immediately put like headphones on, like to drown out the noise. It's like nails on a chalkboard.
I don't know that I'd go that far, but yeah, they do sound bad. But then you look up and they're gorgeous. So
they're so pretty.
It's like out of a movie.
So I will allow it.
Yeah,
I will allow it. Yeah.
It's almost like Truman Show, and they're like, I don't know, we don't have real birds. Why don't we throw in some parakeets? And well, Truman won't know. That's kind of how it feels like in LA. All right, last comment is just a political one, but a fun one on Twitch. Zylo says, CNN and Fox News, two cheeks of the same ass.
This was my ass.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I gotta use that.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Okay, so back to your Joy, and then we'll go to the audience.
So I feel like this past weekend, my heart was like exploding with joy, like throughout the entire weekend. But so just so you guys have a little bit of context or insight, I realized I needed to chill out, take a step back, right? Like I think I was forcing myself to like achieve more and work more, and you're not doing enough. And when I get into that headspace, sometimes I don't even realize I'm in it, but when I'm in it, it's not good. And sometimes when you're trying to force success, you end up doing the opposite. And it's better to just, back away and do other things, diversify your life. I was working almost 24/7. So I did that this past weekend. It was like the first time I fully let go and I was willing to say yes to fun things. And so I love riding my bike, like my electric bike. It's the coolest thing ever. It goes pretty fast. And so Christian knows I love riding it. And he asked if I was willing to take one of the days out of the weekend to just drive up north to like Ventura County. There's this very long and beautiful bike trail that goes along the ocean. And we just had the best day, Cenk. And luckily he did capture a video, and I wanted to share it with the audience so you guys can see. For all the crap I talk about the leadership in California, I feel so tremendously lucky to live here because California, I love the United States, but California is the most beautiful state. Maybe Hawaii competes, but California is beautiful, and here's what I'm talking about. Riding the bike. And it was a little bit chilly in Ventura County, especially compared to LA. It's usually a little cooler when you go up north. But it was just a lovely day. We came across a seafood place and like ordered way too much food. Like I wasn't thinking about work. I was thinking about politics. I was watching a conversation. Oh, I was watching the interview that Tucker Carlson did with Gideon Levy, who I really love and respect. Gideon Levy, he's an Israeli who really speaks out against what's going on. And he works for Haaretz. But anyway, it was like an enjoyable conversation to listen to. I was outside in nature where I feel I'm the closest to God, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't know what God is. Like, I don't believe in religious doctrine, but I think I feel God when I'm out in nature, like honestly. And so it was bliss, pure bliss. And I was very, very happy. And I wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So first, just real quick on Gideon Levy. If all the Israelis were like Gideon Levy, why would we have any issues with Israel? Like,
exactly, yeah.
Like, well, they think we irrationally hate people based on their religion. Why? Why would we do that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. We're not irrational. So we're judging based on actions. Yes.
Actually, Cenk, I wanted to say something because I did see something online that really bothered me because I don't agree with this. I don't think anyone should engage in this, but there are these actresses, they're referred to as the Haim sisters, right? And obviously they're Jewish. And so during one of the basketball games that happened recently, the Knicks and the,
Spurs.
That other team. Spurs, exactly. I know that it's like important, so I'm not trying to minimize it. But like during one of the games, one of the Haim sisters was sitting in the front row and she was on video. Someone uploaded the clip of her and like the attacks against her simply because she's Jewish. It's disgusting. I don't stand by that. I don't like that. This is not about hating Jewish people. She's done nothing wrong. There's no indication that she's out there like advocating for genocide and slaughter. She just happens to be Jewish. So attacking her honestly makes you the bad guy if you're doing it. I know no one in our audience is doing it, but I wanted to just take a moment to speak out against that because it's just wrong. And I want to do that more often because it is important to draw that distinction between being a critic of a foreign country that's carrying out atrocities and the actual anti-Semitism, which I think was the case with the way the Haim sisters were being treated.
Yeah, definitely. So look, if we get into the Knicks Spurs, we won't be able to get out. But I will say this, I bet on the Spurs, so that's why I'm super biased. I'm telling you that ahead of time, just so you know. But good news is I was wrong. Good news for anyone who loves the Knicks, and Brunson was amazing, etc. But I can't stand the Knicks celebrity fans. I loathe them, and except two.
What?
Yeah, I can't. Nails on a chalkboard. They're all like supernova rich. And they're like, yeah, I love the Knicks, and the Knicks deserve a championship. Knicks. Okay, yeah, whatever, dude. Like, so Ben's dad used to have this line about the World Series. He loved baseball, but he'd never go to the World Series. Ben asked him when he's a kid, why don't you go to the World Series? It's like regular baseball games are for the real fans. The World Series is for millionaires. And it's totally true. In fact, I knew 3 people who went to the game, they're all millionaires, okay? And all pretending to be lifelong Knicks fans. I can't stand it, okay? And Spike Lee, sorry to anyone who likes Spike Lee, I've never liked him, didn't like him. Anyway, I can go on and on. But the 2 I love, and I'm gonna accept them, is Larry David and John Turturro. And John Turturro is like a real Knicks fan and a real guy. I love that brother, right? But
who is that?
So he's in everything. He was in The Big Lebowski. He's
actor. Got it.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
keep going.
But there was this guy outside of Madison Square Garden who was interviewing celebrities coming out and asking them about Palestine. Okay, and kind of liked it. So he asked Meta World Peace, who's a fan of the show, right? And it was I should say a friend of the show. And I just interviewed him a couple of weeks ago here. And he's like, you're the guy asked him, your last name has peace in it. So are you for peace for Palestinians? And he's like, oh, absolutely, man. He's like, of course, I got nothing but love for the Palestinians. All right, hey, there you go, Meta. Okay, love it. Then he asked Jerry Seinfeld, and Seinfeld's like, Palestine, it doesn't even exist. Yeah, dick, because you don't allow it to exist, and now you think you're bragging about it. So I used to like Seinfeld, but he's such like an over-the-top Zionist, like no compassion for the Palestinians at all. So this is my plea, Larry David. If you agree with Jerry, please don't say anything. Please, like don't ruin my love for you.
Yes,
right? Please.
I know because look, my genuine opinion having nothing to do with the views they hold on that situation. Okay, purely on the content. I think the Seinfeld show has always been deeply, deeply overrated. I don't think it's that funny. No, it was terrible. Okay, not terrible. I think that goes too far. I just don't think that it was. Look, there was no competition back in the day. Okay, so a show like that is like, whoa, cutting edge. A guy who like notices things that are a little bit strange in society, makes jokes about it. Not that funny. Larry David though, and Curb Your Enthusiasm, really freaking funny. I love that show. So I agree with you, Cenk. He should not share his opinion on Palestinians.
Unless he loves
terrified.
them.
Unless he loves them. Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, we're clear on that. And look, I thought Seinfeld was a great show, but the funniest character was Costanza. And who's Costanza based on? Larry David. So anyways, last correction to Anna. Of course, the other state as beautiful as California and Hawaii is New Jersey.
Totally, yep. People are saying.
I gotta give a shout out to Pittsburgh, not just because Skip's doing stage today, but because Chris Huck, another great TYT, staffer, family member here, etc., is in Pittsburgh, and he put up a video of Pittsburgh the other day on TikTok. And Chris, I saw it, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, brother. That is a beautiful city. It was a really nice shot from overview. And as I was looking down at Pittsburgh from that video, I was like, you know what I see? America.
No, it's such a beautiful country. I mean, look, the competition it's fierce. Like Zion National Park. You tell me that's not beautiful? There's so much beauty in America. Guys, we're so lucky that this is our country. If you're living in America and you're a citizen, all that stuff. Like we're so lucky, and we're allowing these disgusting, greedy grifters to suck the life out of it. These nasty politicians who couldn't care less about this country, take it for granted every single day. We gotta fight hard against that. We are so lucky to have what we have, and we gotta fight to not only protect it, but to protect our rights and protect our ability to speak out, to be part of the democratic process. Sorry to be all high and mighty, but it's true.
It's just somebody talked about Zion here. We're gonna get to that, I swear, in 1 second. But last quick political comment is, look, I remember having breakfast at a farm in Kentucky once, and they had like the, hay rolls that were, all over the farm, and it was just so gorgeous. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, so those guys on that farm in Kentucky have to take money out of their pocket to give to ExxonMobil and Chevron every year. Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we letting our politicians rob us blind? It's infuriating. And then people talk about getting money out of politics, and nobody ever does a single thing about it. Not like 1 inch forward. Oh, but I am against money in politics. Really? What did you ever do? Oh, well, I gave a speech about it. Then I took tons of corporate cash. Anyways, all right, let's get on to cheerier stuff. Let's go to Theater Goddess. She wrote in on tyt.com/joy, the best web page in the world. It may be cheating to give examples of TYT things that make me happy, but whatever. The casual moments that reveal how the people at TYT are friends make me happy. I stuck with the show because the first episode or so showed how Cenk and Anna interacted with the tech crew and how they were publicly treating people whose job it is to be as invisible as possible. Says a lot about their personality. It's fine to interact with techs within the scope of their jobs, but they repeatedly show that they respect their co-workers' contributions outside of lighting and sick playlists. So first, nice shout out to Bart's playlist. Second of all, that's funny, we just did that, right? But I hadn't connected the two things, but I like that you appreciate that. But to me, it's like sometimes when we get credit for being just human, it's kind of a funny, ironic credit. It's more of a discredit to everyone else in media. It just happened to me at the airport the other day where somebody was like, man, I really love your show because you're a real person. And he said it like, I don't know, 3-4 times. But like, you're not like the others. You're actually a real person. And I'm like, isn't that so funny that our bar is so low that if you're just not a corporate robot, hello, I am on CNN, Israel is great, there are no donors, the politicians are honorable, right? If you don't do that, you get credit for being human. But I'll take it, thank you, I appreciate it. She continues, then today I had a giggle fit coming back from the first commercial break. Cenk said that he should probably make sure an image was ready to go before asking for it to be put on screen. Anna's sassy, unapologetic, spoke volumes about how this is not an uncommon occurrence and that he should know better by now. It's little exchanges like that that ground and amuse us and make the horror of the news a little bit more bearable. I appreciate that. And her other handle is the Verbose Dragon, and delivering a tiny bit there, although it could have been a little bit longer. But anyways, thank you for the compliments. You're wonderful and you made our days brighter. Even got.
Can I read a few comments?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna start with Galfar71, who says, my Operation Joy is that it is my birthday. Happy birthday, Galfar. But the second part is the best. And I have the house to myself all week long. Yes, okay, alone time is the best time, unless you wanna invite people over to party, that's good too. But how good is it when you have the house to yourself? You can do whatever you want. You don't have to be considerate of anyone else, it's great.
Oh, it's heaven. I mean, I love my family, and if we don't run out of time, I'm gonna tell you guys about my joy in a second too, but there's nothing better than alone time. Happy birthday, Galfar. You've been amazing to us. We appreciate you, brother. All right, the One True Coffee Dragon says, when talking about how she approaches difficult people, my wife says she always thinks of the old story about the warm sun and the cold wind. She thinks that if you want to succeed, it starts with approaching people the right way. When our 5-year-old kept demanding snacks on the way home from preschool, she didn't just say no, she drew a weekly calendar, practiced the Japanese Days of the Week song with him, and used it to walk him through the snack schedule until he got it and felt like he was able to agree on his own terms. All right, I love this story. She genuinely believes even the hardest hearts can be reached that way. Yes, even Trump. Obviously, I have my doubts that her philosophy can work on everyone, but I respect the conviction, and I think the world is better for having people like her in it. Speaking for myself, at least, knowing her has made me more open to trying things her way. I remember when Anna first shared Michael Brooks' idea about fighting the system while feeling compassion for the person. It reminded me of what my wife has been trying to teach me all this time. So part of this post is about thanking Anna for sharing her friend's message and Cenk for trying to build relationships with people we've been taught never to engage with. I tell my wife my epiphany myself, but she usually just rolls her eyes and feels annoyed that I'm making a big deal out of it, but I think she'd still approve. Well, One True Coffee Dragon, we approve, and that's a beautiful and lovely message.
It really is, it really is. And I love that Michael's message is one that you took to heart. And I see a lot of people in theory, rhetorically supporting that message, be kind to people, but like vicious to systems or brutal to systems. But the second you actually put that into practice, those same people who purport to be in favor of that will attack you. So I don't ever be discouraged by that. Don't be gaslit by that. Just keep moving forward, because I think that's the only way to heal so much of what's wrong in the country right now. Be kind to people. Okay, people are complicated. Think about the environment we're all living under, where there are smoke screens, media that has no interest in actually informing us of what's going on. It's just, there's a lot. I'm not making excuses for people, but you want people to be compassionate toward you. So put that compassion out into the world, and I promise you, it'll come back to you.
So just a quick thing on Michael Brooks. So Michael wasn't like supernova famous or anything like that, but everyone who knew him loved and respected him. And as far as I know, it was universal, right? And people who now massively disagree with one another, don't quite really like each other. We all like Michael, right? And for a guy who wasn't supernova famous, that line he had was so classic, so true, so great that it's really one that I wouldn't say all progressives know, but a ton of progressives know now. And it's a great line about being kind to people and vicious to systems, right? However you phrase it, and there's different ways that you can say it, but the concept behind that. And so, but Anna, you're right. I mean, some of the people who claim that they agree with that line, the minute you talk to someone they don't agree with, they're like, no, I hate you because you didn't call him a Nazi. So you hate both of us. Not sure that Michael would have agreed, but anyways, I don't want to put words in his mouth either. I just appreciate the brother, he was terrific. All right, let's go to Zelda Symphony. She says, I had my first jury duty. It was a different kind of fun, but also an experience. It's safe to talk about now that it's over. A man was arrested for allegedly mugging a guy, and the man was in jail for 8 months. The victim wasn't even prosecuting. He was a witness of the prosecution, and the state was pushing to punish the accused even more. The victim's English was limited and assumed the cops knew what they were doing. The cops did not investigate the camera and the nearby gas station, which was the alibi needed for the man arrested. I don't get why the state was involved. They had nothing to do with the case. They weren't involved, and it didn't benefit them to win or lose. They wasted our time and tax dollars to punish this man for doing a crime he didn't do. The state's lawyer was mad when their star witness told the truth and then said, quote, he didn't want this guy to do it as it was for $10 and may have been under a major hardship, but he also knew it was not the right guy. I saw the lawyer and aggressively toss his pen at his notepad whilst he was listening to the defense question the witness. All in all, the jury already determined he was innocent, but the defense requested a judgment and the judge decided the same. I would go back to jury duty knowing that I am eager to listen and help. I saw other jurors fall asleep, not me. Oh, and I got paid by my job whilst I was there too.
What a win, such a win. Jury duty is based. I really wish I got called for jury duty, but they don't pick me, it's sad. Back to you, Cenk.
Yeah, no, so two things about that. One, look, I don't have time for jury duty, but if I did, I would totally love it. And you get to do justice either direction. And look at this, you corrected an injustice while being on a jury. That's awesome. So, oftentimes I get joy from your comments, and the fact that you knew that and appreciated that makes it even better. And then the last part that's awesome is, of course, your use of the word whilst. It's always fun. And then sometimes I'll say she or he based on assumptions that make no sense. So like when I see Zelda Symphony, I said she, I don't know if it really is a she. But I'm like, Zelda, I don't know, that sounds like a she. Even though it could be a reference to the symphony, and I'm ignorant. So anyways.
Or I think there's a video game called Zelda, right? Yeah, Zelda video game. Could be that. Real quick, I'm just gonna read one more comment and then Cenk, we're running out of time. So I wanna hear about your joy, okay? But this is important and I would feel terrible if I hadn't read this. So this is from BS 1954. Hey Cenk, my wife Marianne retired 2 weeks ago. I wanted to wish her a happy retirement as my joy, but you weren't around. Would you mind doing it now, please?
Oh, Marianne, happy retirement. That is beautiful.
Hell yeah.
Okay, and enjoy it. Enjoy every minute of it. We don't know how long we're promised, so make sure you're soaking in the fact that you don't have to get up early and all the other things that came along with it, and enjoy your freedom as much as you can. I love it. Thank you for writing in, and happy retirement by all means.
Love it. No, I'm super excited. I'm actually a little bit jealous, but
yeah,
I'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I have to read the last comment because I promised it to you guys. The Raging Atheist wrote in. My YouTube handle is The Raging Atheist, and I wrote in last month about my joy over my impending trip to Zion National Park for my 40th birthday alone, without my husband or my kids, just a couple of my best soul sisters. And I had to read this because you mentioned Zion plus alone time, right? Although in this case it's with the friends. Anyways, I finally went mid-May and it was incredible. I did a couple of hikes, including hiking the Narrows, which is one of the coolest things I've ever done. On my last morning, I rented an e-bike and biked the entire park. What an ethereal experience. I highly recommend a morning Zion bike ride to everyone. We're so lucky to have such a beautiful planet to live on. Shutting the world out for a few days was exactly what I needed, and certainly came home a more patient, refreshed parent. It's unfortunate that the day I got home was the day the mosque in San Diego was attacked. It was a quick return back to reality, but I'm glad I had a few days to recalibrate before jumping back into the daily horrors. I'm already planning my next national park trip, Olympic National Park in Washington. My teenagers are already rolling their eyes. I think it's really important for our mental health to plan things we look forward to keep us anchored. It's really easy to let today's atrocities and overwhelming corruption carry you away. And I just wanted to say that I am also learning to shuffle dance. It's been so much fun. And
yes, we don't have to share it if you don't want, but I mean, I'm totally down to see videos of your progress because I know you're filming yourself. Like we all do it to see if we're improving. I'm so excited. You sound like we would be best friends if we lived in close proximity. Like I love being in nature. I love electric bike rides, long ones. And we would totally practice shuffling together. We'd be Biffy and Buffy, besties forever.
And that squeal that you made sounded a bit like America to me. Sound of an eagle. Let's show her picture as well. There she is in the Narrows.
That's awesome.
I hiked that with my kids and my wife, of course. So that's awesome. We love that. That's a great story. All right. Speaking of the fam, so we didn't get to go to UK, as you all know. By the way, shoptyt.com for Banned in the UK t-shirts. In fact, I have one here. Boom. Okay. So shoptyt.com for that. Anyways, it wasn't for the plug. So to spite them, we went to France instead. And so we went to a whole bunch of museums, of course. We went to Versailles. We got to see all the palaces. I'm gonna talk more about it on Old School. Michael and I are gonna do Old School in about an hour at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. So if you're a member, make sure you're catching that live, and I'll tell you more about how to become more feminine as I've gotten older. That's a fun little story. But of the million things that I enjoyed on that trip, of course, the French bakeries and the gorgeous, gorgeous Paris. Paris is so beautiful. When I was a kid, I was a knucklehead, and I was like, oh yeah, the French lose all the wars. Yeah, French are weak. Oh. And now I go to Paris, I'm like, look around, it's so beautiful. The French are great. And Vive la France, by the way, since you guys still have freedom and allowed me into the country. And I went to a little cafe shop, or a cafe. That's the oldest cafe in Paris. It's from the 1600s, and it's where Voltaire and Rousseau used to go. And in fact, Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson also went and would go there and sometimes talk to those Enlightenment figures in France and debate with them and take their ideas back to America. And it's so, I loved being there with the kids. And my favorite thing of all, though, was I said to them, okay, we're in France where they discuss politics and philosophy, and we're at the cafes and we're having the same hot chocolate that they had. So let's talk about the meaning of life and philosophy and politics, and we did. And just discussing that with my kids while being at that cafe, it doesn't get any better than that. Oh God, that was so much fun, and I soaked it in so much. So that was my favorite part of the trip.
I mean, getting time to like really bond with your kids, and like they're old enough to actually appreciate what you want to share with them. So it's like honestly the best period of their growth, their development. My older nieces, I love having conversations with them. They'll ask me questions that I had when I was their age, but I think I'm better suited to answer some of that. So it's just like connecting. Because like really, what is life? Like what really does bring you joy? It's being connected, right? Whether it's connected to nature, connected to the people around you, connected to humanity. It's never really about money or material things. Like that stuff's important at a certain extent, right? So you have peace of mind. But it doesn't really bring you bliss or bring you joy. It's the people around you, your family members, your friends, all of that really like makes you feel like the bliss that I felt when I was on that bike ride, Cenk. Just being out in nature with the man I love, riding the bike I love, and not really having a care in the world at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when Pro was asking me, like because you have kids, and when Joy. If you ask her, what does Baba do? She'd be like, politics, politics, politics.
I mean, true.
True, right? And then you talk about politics or anything serious, they roll their eyes, just like Raging Atheist was saying, right? So for Pro to get to 15, almost 16 now, and get past the rolling of the eyes and ask me about the governor's race in California and the mayor's race in LA, and who I think should be mayor, and how would you win the mayor's election? Like genuine questions about politics. I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy, right? So it's just beautiful to share that. And look, my dad would share things like that with me, and now that I get to share that with my son, makes me so happy. And you want to know who I told him could be the next mayor of LA in the next election?
I hope you don't say me, because that's definitely not gonna happen.
Yeah, of course I said you. Yeah, I said if Anna ran, she could easily win, but
no, I don't think so.
Okay, well that's.
But it's okay. I don't want to be mayor of LA. That would be a nightmare of epic proportions. It's too corrupt. It's too bureaucratic. The mayor actually has significantly less power than the board of supervisors in LA County and the LA City Council. So it works differently in LA than it does in other municipalities. So it's important to know that.
Fine, Governor. Anyways, no, I'm kidding. Stay here. Are you kidding me? I'm thrilled. Stay right here, okay? All right, guys. You guys stay right here too. But I will throw one negative comment about France in old school. Okay, I mean, I love them, God bless. I'll give you more positive comments too. But a little teaser for you guys, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, Michael and I live for the members. All right, much love to all of you out there. And today we get to do it. Bye-bye.